solid input, or not solid input, fluid input.
What do you mean by solid input? Like, what do you mean?
So, the electric is
Yeah.
it's a very fast execution move, right? You have to be very solid with your execution on it. And in my head now, I understand that it's kind of like it should be like one solid, smooth movement in order to get the electric out for both sides as well.
Okay.
So I've been trying to, I've been doing a lot more whiff punishes, and I'm starting to realize especially in blue ranks, sometimes you just gotta wait. Sometimes you just gotta wait.
Yeah. Just gotta wait for like a move to whiff, just to get able to like whiff confirm, and then at that point just pop that shit like, hey.
Exactly, right? And I didn't realize it until like recently, and I was like, wait, that's unsafe. And then like, and now I'm looking for the unsafe moves, and oh my god, I have not been using 221 as much as I need to be, because 221 gets you a lot.
Punisher, yeah.
It gets you
That's
a
what I
lot.
mean. Like being able to capitalize on like your punishment, like just being able to just not only focus on like the big stuff, right? Just getting your 1-2s in. Like now, okay, if you're near the wall, you get that free +14 where you cancel the sands, right? And at that point, it's like, oh shit, well I can get all this now. Like, like it opens up much more like reward, So it's like
right.
you can see all the potential behind it. So I guess I'll get this going over here.
So I see the huge potential going on right now, and I honestly I love it.
Hell yeah,
I'm starting to truly understand it.
I understand it now. Love to see.
It really was just like that, right? And like with that, I was able to just rank up to Raijin very very quickly. It took me only like 30 minutes to get the Raijin from like the middle of
Rank,
Fujin. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No, definitely.
Let me.
Right. Anything else?
That's it for now. Let's see what else I was working on. I did play in like a round robin on Sunday. I played one majority at right side, and I wasn't able to beat the third seed or the second seed, but I was able to beat the rest of them.
Nice. So, okay.
So my only thing is that since I was playing on right side, I had one of my students who like tried to use learning rating for me as well. He won the RPS to left side, so he was playing on left side. And I remember during my time I was fighting him, he started doing stuff for me, against me, and I was just like, oh, that's not good. That'd be funny if I lose to my student. And
putting pressure on yourself, man.
Yeah. Right. So what was really funny about it, right, is as soon as I was just like, shit, I might lose this. And so what I started doing is I started doing the Sentai grab to switch sides to put him on right side.
Oh, you started explaining that weakness of his. Oh no.
And then I exploited his weakness.
As you should.
Yeah, I was just like, you can't play on right side, huh?
Like if a gap is available, abuse it. Fuck it.
Exactly. So I started doing that, and I was able to beat him with that.
Especially for like stick players, like people who are like very very new tend to only play in like for example like maybe like player 2 side. And personally, I have the same thing where it's like if I'm on stick and you put me on 1P, I'm best hitting duck. Like I can't even move.
Right.
So like it happens a lot. So,
Yeah.
Like, it's probably like in this game like something I've personally been advocating for like a long time, just bringing back the good old random side assignments. That way people are actively playing on both sides all the time, and over time get more comfortable. Where it's like if they're comfortable sticking to one side the whole time, whenever they go to an offline setting, now they're kind of screwed if they go to the opposite side,
Right. So that's why I've been trying to make an effort to, whenever I'm playing a player match or a quick match, I always choose right side now. I need to be solid on both sides.
Yeah, side practice is really really important because especially when you're just like in the flow of the match, right? Like whenever you end up in a situation where you tend to like switch sides, for example, right? Like this is sort of like the times where you instinctively practice TP. Like sorry, like rather I guess you could say like you're unintentionally like, or rather like I guess you could say like indirectly treating this as practice for 2P because now that you're enforcing the side switch, now you're forced to go over stuff like some little bit complicated inputs, like for example CD3 on 2P, where like that might be a little bit more complicated to get it on like 2P, whereas like maybe your stronger side on 1P, for example, right? And like vice versa, right? Maybe getting your electrics going, etc., etc. Like,
right.
There's so many things you gotta like worry about a little bit more. Or it's like you mostly get that practice whenever you electric sides, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good. Like especially like newer players, they tend to like over focus on one side the whole time. So that whenever they switch side, they're just like, oh, I can't even move. Like for example, like me, for example, right? I had this really strong wave dash on 1P, but like you put me on 2P, and like it's not as strong, you know. Like it's something I personally can work on as well, but it's like everyone's got their own gripes. Like for me, it's like my wave dash isn't as strong on what is it on 2P? Like rather like vice versa. Like I do have one, and when the time calls for it, I can still go for it. But end of the day, like as long as I can get like 1 or 2 waves with it, then I'm honestly fine, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, like I mentioned, it wasn't as strong, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I guess we can just begin with the beginning point of this conversation. I guess you could say, is the whole electric input, right? Okay. So think about electric, right? You're not actively doing it from the same input all the time. It's what we call a buffer window, right? So because electrics can be inputted through 3 different methods, right? So you have the forward neutral down forward 2 method. You have the forward neutral down forward method. If I can just get it correctly here, hold on. That's not that right one. Not it. I'm instinctively buffering for electrics. I'm so used to it.
Yeah.
There you go. So forward neutral down forward method, and there's like the forward down forward 2 method with like no neutral skip, which is a little bit complicated on pad especially. But
I
can see right there.
Got a question for this one then. So
yeah, sure.
there's a difference between both of them, right?
The only difference is the starter frame. So when you go for the forward neutral down forward 2 version, which is this right here, this comes out at 13 frames. Same thing applies if we go for the forward down forward version, the no neutral version. It also comes out at 13 frames because you're skipping that 1 frame of neutral, right?
Right.
I can't. It's muscle memory for me at this point. I can't even get the down version.
That's all right.
But it's like whenever you go for these 2 methods, this is where the electric tends to become 13 frames. And although like it's that startup on paper, you know, you still gotta hover like the fastest possible frame. Otherwise, you'll still get like a regular electric and whatnot, and so on and so on. But traditionally, like it comes out around the 14 frames for the most part. So like you have the execution for it. That's where it tends to come out the most and most frequently. But if you're looking for my 13 specific situations, you know, for example, like let's say you land like, you know, this other team over here, like counter hit, right, where it easily gives you plus 13, or let's say that you're cracked and you actually end up launching a pop quick attempt, for example, which I've only done once in my life personally. I've only did this like one time. Like
hop kick?
Yeah, because it's my 13.
Huh.
I even have a clip of this actually. Let me try to find it actually.
Yeah. I was just thinking to myself, like, you can. That's like a really hard one to do.
It's really hard. I did it by accident, and I'm just like, oh, was that a? I asked my friend. I was like, "Is that a punish?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, it's crazy. Like people that get that like as a legitimate like, I guess you could say like as an actual like consistent thing. But like it's not common, anyways. But it's like it's still possible. But like that's the whole reason why like. I guess you could say that like electrics are more generous in this game because you're able to just buffer like all these things, and you're not instinctively like thinking of like one specific method. Honestly, you're just thinking about getting electric out through any means. Like you just shouldn't really worry about like what specific version is coming out, unless you're like going for like, you know, let's say that you're a Kazuya player, right? And like Kazuya lands his down forward 2, and let's say he wants to go for his perfect electric. At that point, you won't worry about it, right? But in our case, we don't have anything like that. So unless you're going for minus 15 punches specifically, you just want to worry about getting like electric out to begin with, you know. Especially when it comes to like blocking like minus 14 moves, like, you know, for example, if you block like this, for example, like we'll do like, what's the minus 14 move?
Minus 14 down for 1-2.
Yeah, you do that, or like 2 to 1, for example. Like if you're really wanna like practice like 14 frame electrics, this is like a super hard thing to do. Honestly, I've landed like this like one time in tournament where like, you see that, where it's like you can buffer electrics here for minus 14 punishes, but you gotta get used to the blocks of it. And like it varies a lot, so it's not something I would recommend going for. just keep it simple. Just always go for like the easy stuff like 2-2-1, blah blah
Right.
blah, because it just more consistent. You don't
Right.
really want to gamble it unless it's like do or die moments, you know.
Right.
Or like you're so confident in the blocks then that you're able to just buffer correctly, so on, so on.
Mm.
But the whole
Right.
idea of electric, right? Just getting used to just getting the input out through whatever input might feel more comfortable for you. So for me personally, I'm so used to doing the like the forward neutral down forward version that's what I instinctively always tend to like opt in for. Some
Right.
people might prefer other methods, and honestly, it's up to you. Like this is where like the option depends on you as a person, like what feels more comfortable for you when it comes to your own thumbs, right? Like obviously, at the end of the day, like I can say here, like, oh, hey, you should probably do this, but at the end of the day, like, what feels more
Comfortable.
suitable for you, right? Exactly.
Right.
Like,
I got
what
it.
feels more comfortable to you? Like, are you more of the forward neutral, down forward enjoyer, or are you more of the, is it easier for you to buffer it through like doing forward neutral, down forward, and so on and so on, right?
Yeah, for me, how I usually do electrics is it's usually the down forward method. There's no down. I skip the down and just go for down forward.
Okay, so you're the forward neutral, down forward enjoyer. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen to me. Okay. Yeah, this also matters because it also like another key thing we also gotta utilize is your season 3 as well, right? And like this has
Right.
like a similar input, while it being like a little bit of a slower move because it's
Yeah.
like 50 frames instead of like quote unquote 11, even though it's not 11, but frame that up. Like it's a little bit slower, and like we have more like opportunities to mess this up a little bit more because we have two stats off of this with down forward 3 or down 3. So this is why we hate this move. This is why every single, and I mean this, like every single arena player, no matter how good or bad they are, they will mess up this input at least once because of these two stats existing. So you have Unsoku and like just the regular wood step. Like these two things existing is what makes CT3 so annoying sometimes, because when you're so used to buffering like electrics, right?
Right.
The worst thing you'll get is like a down 2, right? Like that's
Right.
a common misinput that you'll see a lot. And like the worst thing that happens out of that is just okay. You with the down 2, it's fine. It recovers really quickly. You can you're
Right.
fine. Whatever whatever happens afterwards happens.
Right.
Comes out, nice, you're fine. With this though, like you end up like stuck in these stances, and like it just looks so awkward. And it happens in crucial moments, at like the same graph, for example, where like you want to go for CP3, but you end up like messing it up, and now you're just sitting there awkwardly, like just staring at them. It's like, oh my god, what am I doing?
I've sometimes, especially when I'm trying to go for that, what's it called, Sentai grab into Electro and God kick, I will fuck up and do Unsoku.
Yeah, it happens.
Is it,
A lot. It
so it's
happens
like
a lot, especially.
it's a common thing then.
It's a common thing. It's very, very common. It's like you'll see anyone. Like it doesn't matter how good or bad they are, they will mess this up at least one time. But yeah, I guess we can just take this moment to, I guess, dive into Reina as a character, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we'll begin with that.
Yeah.
So Reina, let's talk about this character. So I'm not gonna go into the very, very basics, as you're already more familiar with her at this point. Like you're already like aware, like what her down for one is, or what a jab is. Like, I'm gonna explain all that.
Right.
But what makes Reina like Reina? Like, okay, what is this character? What is the first thing you think about whenever you think about Reina?
A rush down mix up spacing character, I would say.
Exactly. So those are the two key things we'll focus on, right? Rush down and space control, right? That's where we excel at the most, right? So whenever we think of those things, we want to think about our main strategies. So how do we enforce our main approach tools, right? Or how do we enforce our main like keep out tools, right? What makes all of our kits so unique, right? What makes our stances so unique, right? What makes our movement so unique? Like what are all these cool stances? For example, we have like these really cool things like what's this? What's this little back input thing, right? Like why am I using this?
Right.
Like what's this about to do for me? Like why is it so important? What is Fukuteki? Like what is this thing so important? What is this? What is all these things? Like there's just so many stances for us to think about, and it's like this character can feel overloaded at times. It's like, oh wait, we have all these things that can go into all these other things, and it's like it ends up overloading your brain, and like people end up like giving up. It's like, oh, I'll just play a generic all the time. But end of the day, you really want to just keep it simple. You don't want to like overwhelm yourself in the beginning, especially when you're like just like barely like getting your feet wet into like what this character has to offer, because she's a very, very complicated character, to be honest with you. Like she's like one of the characters in this game where it's always easier to learn but harder to master, I feel like.
Yeah,
whereas,
I would say
her
so too.
general her general surface is like pretty easy to get into. It's like, okay, I can just
Mhm.
play simple poking tech in here. Want to go for some basic space control stuff? I can go for the most infamous move in this game, 442.
Mhm.
Or if I want to go for like maybe like a more like an easy mix up, I can go for like a healthy mix up, right? And
Mhm.
that can go into its own RPS version, and so on and so on.
Mhm.
Um, but when you go into the more fancy stuff, like the Onzoku cancel, this is more like where some things can get a little bit more advanced, because
Right.
this is where you start getting more comfortable transitioning between a lot of stance, right? So for example, like Onzoku can go into Sentai by just doing 4-3, for example. Maybe you can go into, for example, like you'll enter Heaven's Wrath, and then you'll
Mhm.
do like from Heaven's Wrath you'll go into Onzoku, for example, right? Like all
Mhm.
sorts of things you're able to do. Fukuteki becomes more useful the more like mental mix you apply off of it, and that only happens the moment you start applying either this little cancel segment right here. So you have the down forward back cancel,
Mhm.
which not many people implement too much in their style. Like you'll only see this at like the top, I guess you could say. Like I don't to be honest with you, I only see myself and Yagami using this the most. To be honest with you, I don't see many Renas using this as much, and I feel like they should.
I've actually stole this tech from Yagami. There are times where the most common time I would use this move is in heat engage. So like I'll go into heat
Exactly.
engage and
Yep.
then
And then
stop for a
do this right.
second. Yep.
Exactly.
Right.
This second, yeah, because we have this allows you to apply more mental mix because this lets you vary your timing.
Right.
So instead of like them like committing like maybe like a fuzzy guard after like a hit engager, right? Because
Right.
after a hit engagers, we are more likely to like I guess I could say like we're more vulnerable to getting like let's say that the person you're up against ends up landing something like this, for example. They'll do like their hit engager, then you end up like, let me do this. Hold on. Let's just do this, and then after this comes out, right? Like this is just a
Right.
common sequence, right?
Right.
Um, but this is vulnerable to getting like jab loaded. If you like delay your running through a little bit, you can either get jab loaded, maybe power crushing, etc., and so on and so on, right?
Right.
So it's like some people are willing to challenge that. So like whenever you're applying more like stuff that's like out of the box, meaning
Mhm.
that you can apply a little bit more mental mix stuff. This is where like her being able to transition into those things off of like stuff that can be considered like off-putting
Mhm.
is like where she shines. So besides being a space control monster,
Mhm.
she has the ability to, I guess you could say, like mask her approach, right? And that can be applied through many things. So for example, when we're going to Onsetsu all the time, right? This can go in Sensei, and that means we can go for
Right.
something like this, right? This
Right.
make it so that we're able to mask our like Sensei approach, right? So instead of like us getting jabbed off of 4 2 all the time, right? So this
Right.
is like something that people can easily like anticipate, I guess you could say. Whereas
Right.
it's like they're more easy to just let's say they'll just block our jab right after 4-4-2. They can expect
Mhm.
the mix from this situation, and it's a lot easier for them to counter, right?
Right.
Whereas if we apply it from like other situations, so for example, we'll just go into like this, they're more forced to block at that point because they can't exactly jab us at the right time here unless they're like super cracked, right?
Right.
Like this is sort of what I mean by like being able to mask your approach a lot easier through these other stances,
Mhm.
and like why it becomes super useful, right? So this is more like technical stuff, I will say.
Yeah.
Um, for now though, I wouldn't really advise you to focus on it, but rather just getting more into the idea of using Onsoku as like a space control thing, meaning that round start
Ye-
situation, you'll not
Mhm.
just be able to get used to like doing this cancel, for example, like this little cancel right here, you just cancel with like down forward back. It's something I gotta get used to doing.
So
Um,
the timing
yeah, go ahead.
for Onsoku canceling is like back three or back three, back two, or back. No, wait, my bad. Back three, up back, or down back, something like that.
It's just down forward back.
Down forward back. Okay, so
Yep.
that, and then you instantly hit down forward, and then do another Onsoku.
Pretty much how I'm doing it, especially on like my thumb, is
Yeah.
that I'm pressing back three, and
Right.
then the moment I like want to cancel the stance,
Right.
I transition my thumb from the back input to down forward and then back to
Mm.
back. Or
Mm.
that was like a small like a little part. But yeah, you go to down forward the moment you like tap back three, right? So you tap down forward and then you go back. This is while you're holding down the inputs all the same time. So you never go to neutral, right? So
Yeah.
if you look at my inputs, I never go to neutral. See that?
Hold on.
So
Hold on.
you
Hold on.
see me
Let me.
like going to back three. Ignore the up back input. Hold on.
Yeah. Do that. Right.
Let me do that real quick. Let me just do it. Okay, there you go. So I just do this thing where I'm holding down the back input and
Right.
slowly transition to the down forward. So
Mhm.
you can see there where it's like I'm holding back. I went to like down to down forward. It took me like 2 frames to go to down, then 3 frames to go down forward. And afterwards, I went to, I returned to the back input, and I had to transition from the down forward to the back input there. So, it's a weird little cancel to do, but once you get used to it, it becomes really, really useful. But the whole reason we want to use it to begin with is because we want to create that space that we want to originally have. So, I won't overcomplicate this for you. I'll just keep it simple. Only use this when you want to create small spaces, meaning that it's good in these situations. So it's good for round start situations because round start stuff, for example, like let's say you up against a Kazuya player, for example. Hold on. I had to sneeze, sorry.
That's okay.
Let's say that you're up against a Kazuya player, right? And what's the most common things you'll see from a Kazuya player, like round start?
Back two, I think. Back two is the kind of the mid. Or electric.
You think about the homing mid, right? Down 4-2, right?
Down 4-2.
About that move.
Yeah.
Exactly. So here's the thing about this thing. Here's the thing about this move, round start. There's just no escaping this move at all, right? Round start, you can't exactly backdash it anywhere. You can't exactly miss space or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, but the thing about back three is that we're able to clear that space. See that? So getting more comfortable with this cancel lets you basically react to the move gets whipped fast enough.
Yeah.
And then you're able to apply your punch afterwards. See that? So this is definitely more of the advanced stuff that if you want to master it, this is what it'll look like. But this is just sort of gives an idea what this cancel can be, how useful it can be, and why it's all used. A lot of really good players use it.
Right.
It's because it's able to create those gaps that normally you won't be able to, even if it's a regular backdash, for example, right?
Right.
So so that's sort of why it's an easier way to just apply I guess I could say it's an easier way to create a gap, Think of it as let's see, what's a similar move? I guess you could say a Harong player. Some Harong players will do this sequence round start, for example.
Okay.
Let me pick Harong real quick. Do this real quick.
As you're loading up, there's actually some lore behind Horrowing for me.
Really?
Back in season 2 of my local, this is basically the fall semester of last year. I was just learning the game. I was just I think it was in purple at some point, and I lost to a Horrowing player. And I think what it was is that I overthought the how to beat him, right? I overthink what he was trying to do, and so he just continuously mashed on me, and I died for it.
Yeah, it's just typical rush down, yeah.
Right, and I don't know, I'm gonna get some talking shit to the player.
That's fine.
He has not learned anything. He just kind of expects to press the buttons and try to win, right?
Yeah, that's wrong for you. Yeah.
He's a cool guy, but not a good Tekken player. What I'm trying to say is that I was put on fraud alert whenever this happened, and I had to literally do my homework on Harrowing, and my rematch against him. The next bracket was rigged so I could rematch him, and I killed him.
Seems to be a common occurrence in your locals where it's you'll go down against someone and then they'll rig their bracket for you next week because you were.
I even told them because this happened recently too, which we'll probably get into in this session.
Yeah.
I went against a Clive in the last match, in my last tournament, and the Clive player was a dirty masher. And I lost to it. And so, it do be like that. And I did tell them, do not rig your bracket. I just want to chill.
I'm tired of stressing. I just want to relax a little bit,
Right. But I still want to fight. But if I meet him again, I'll meet him again. But with that being said, we can continue.
It's fine. All right. Okay. So. I'm gonna skip back. I'm gonna skip past Unsoku for now. I just wanted to show you the idea of the stance, but not exactly something we should focus on too much.
To recap on Unsoku, right? I wrote down on my journal Unsoku weaving being Sentai, Sentai weaving or wave dash weaving, just kind of masking my approach is basically the big key point that I was putting down.
It's you're a way to master your crouch dash specifically, right? It's like you're able to master your approach rules and whatnot. Like
Right.
like a wave 442, wave like 4-4 for example.
Mm-hmm.
All these things are important, right?
I know that if you press 4 plus 4-2 into, and then you can go into Onsoku. I know some people mask the Hell Sweep right after.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right here. Yeah, I do this a lot myself. Yeah, like this
Yeah.
is like another way of like masking your approach, like because this is able to like go into like this mind game of you going to Unsoku 4.
Yeah.
Or you just going into like sleep. This is something I spam a lot myself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I heard this is
like
like
another way,
super good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It's the only issue is that people who are willing to jab on you gets really annoying. Because this is a sequence that's punishable both on block and on hit, meaning that even on hit you can't exactly like do your best to like stop them. See that? So if you really want to get around their jab, you gotta start going for like more niche stuff like this. And honestly, at that point, I would rather you just go for 4-2-3, because that's what the mix-up generally like even today against like this Lily player, they kept jabbing me after 4-2, right? So I got super annoyed, so I ended up just running 4-2-3. Because this is, by the way, this is a very far-reaching string. This is a very far-reaching string that's safe on block and can
Right. 4-2 plus.
So see that?
Yeah. I remember we talked about that. It's a long-range punish. It's a 13 framer too.
Yep, 13 frame, and has a big delay window as well. See that?
Right. And it's also delayable too, right?
Big delay window. See that? And
Right.
you can go into Hentai, you can go into Ontaku, like see that, you can go to other variations of it.
Right.
Unfortunately, you can't go into, unfortunately this Onsoku Ko version of the parry doesn't really have, unfortunately this version of Onsoku doesn't really have the parry, even though it's going to the similar version as Onsoku Ko. So just to recap a little bit, Onsoku, there's two versions. There's the Onsoku Ko, which is this right here. This is what they specifically call it. I just, just to make it easier on yourself to understand instead of going all nerdy about it.
Yeah.
If you do want to be nerdy about it, then yes, this is called Onsoku Ko, which is Onsoku, where are you here? Hold on. Where is it? So this is regular Onsoku, just down 3.
Right.
But the Ko version, which is the back 3 version, that's where like they call it like I believe it's called Onsoku Ko. Hold on, let me just find it here. There's so many moves.
Yeah, there's a lot of moves.
Let me find it.
But no, I would love to go into the technical stuff because I genuinely enjoy learning about Tekken.
Let me just find it here because there's so many fucking. I can't even find it.
I saw Onsoku Gen just now.
Oh, there you go. Exactly. There it goes. Onsoku Gen. There you go. There's the Gen version, and then there's the Ko version. So the Ko version, there you go. This is the Ko version.
So that's cool.
This is Onsoku Ko, which is the up and down the variations.
Right.
And then the Onsoku Gen version, which is back 3. So the Gen version, why it's unique compared to the Ko version, is because the Ko version doesn't cover as much space, but has an active punch parry out of it. So whenever someone is
Onsoku Gen is up 3, right?
So Ko is the up and down 3.
Yeah.
And the Gen, which is like the back 3 version, which is like so essentially like how it works, right? So if you're looking for simply entering Onsoku, which is accessed by either tapping up and down 3, or just tapping like up and down from 4-2, up or down rather. Sorry. This is how you access the Ko version, which means that you're taking more of a side step, less of a back step. So see how I'm just side stepping instead of taking a back step, whereas the Gen version has a back step. See that? Has like a more unique animation to it. Like I mentioned, the difference is that the Ko version, which is like the up and down their variants, can have a punch parry up of it, whereas the back 3 version doesn't really have one. See that?
So the Ko has the parry, or down back. Okay.
So sorry, I mean it's up and down. I mean you can do it from down back, but it's it's the same thing at the end of the day. Like you can do up back, down back. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, either way, like this is what I guess you could say like the side step version of this move.
Yeah.
And why like it can be pretty useful, but at the same time when you access it from 4-2, for example, I don't know why. To be honest, I feel like it should have the parry. If I'm being honest. But it doesn't. But yeah, so the 4-2 and like I guess you could say like other versions where it's like you can either go into like this from here, for example. This is sort of why we'd go for this. Whereas the back 3 version, like I mentioned, this is more for space control. So this is more for like opening up, like I guess you could say like, I have a Vada actually. I can maybe show it to you a little bit. Hold on, just to show it more in play.
Not a problem.
Let me just find it here. I was actually watching my own VOD, so I was just chilling to tunes that I was playing. Let me find the exact. No, it was like I guess it's a big king player here. I was playing. This is my stream today. Uh, let me find. Hold on. It's like on the. Where is it? Where is it? Not here. Not here. Where is the?
Did you just skip the king? Did you? You're asking for a king.
I'm playing the king, but I played him on the Into the Stratosphere stage.
Okay, gotcha. Love that stage, by the way. It's one of my favorite stages.
It's a go-to stage. Here we go. Okay. So yeah. So here, I guess you could say like, sort of see like how in application Unsoku can be useful.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just skip a little bit. Hold on. Something crazy. I guess we'll use this more like a visual reference, I guess you could say.
Yeah, visual. Mm-hmm.
Okay, just loading them here. Also, that's a fancy way to realign your combos, but I'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it a couple of times with the majority of arenas.
Yeah.
Like Tekken God and up.
So you can see like I use 4-2 a lot here. That way to match my
Right.
approach, because that that makes my health timing a lot more different. Whereas like if I just stash in electric, I can just get more. It becomes a little bit more telegraphed. So this is why it's super important. You're able to just mask it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think it was like this next game here. I think it's the game after this. Hold on. Okay, yeah, it's definitely the next game. Hold on, it's like the game after this.
Mm-hmm.
So was it here? Hold on. I'm just trying to remember. Sorry.
All good. I'm writing down my notes as we go
That's
and
fine.
you find it.
Yeah. Okay, so what was this game? Hold on.
Okay.
All right.
Oh.
Let me go back a little bit.
After you complete this, I have a question about Unsoku 4 in a bit.
Sure. Okay, yeah, see over here.
Okay.
I found it. So this is the thing about Unsoku, right? So whenever
Yeah.
you're like a disadvantage, I like to use it as a way to just like create some space.
Right.
So like here, like he down jabbed me. I'm just trying to get some space because I don't want to like end up like playing any like sort of like mind games.
Right.
Not only that, I'm also opening up my idea of creating the gap so that my Senshin stance becomes more useful. So the thing about this stance right here, right?
Is that the roll stance?
Roll stance, exactly. So Senshin is 4-1+2.
Right.
So this is a really useful low when it comes to like floor break stages because it gives you that sick little like, counter animation that I personally love a lot. To be honest.
I believe it's only spikeable in counter hit, right? Yeah.
Yeah, only encounter it. But it's so much damage. Look at that. First of all,
it is a lot of damage. I've used this mix up quite a bit, and especially with people who are unaware of this move.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the reason why I used back 3 to begin with, because I wanted to like be within range to like use that move. Because Senshin is like a good move for like rolling, like it's a good move for closing that gap, right? But in order to even have that gap to begin with, I abused Onsoku cancel just for me to like even get that gap to begin with. So you can see right here. So this like that allowed me to just get that gap going. So I can sort of see like how like we can use all these like movement specific stances. Just we're able to like create all these openings, for example.
Right.
And I'm gonna end up hitting there, but like see that I'm just abusing all these things. So working for like a whip punch, for example, here and whatnot.
Right.
It's like really useful like in that sense as well.
Mm.
So like so do that.
Mm-hmm.
Get that gap because I was trying to bait out a challenge response there because if you try to like challenge me, I can either like here's another cool thing about Onsoku 4 is that the kick off of it, which is Onsoku 4 right here, has an insane amount of range. So, like look at this range. So because it has so much range, it's like a go-to whip puncher almost, and it's safe on block. So if it gets blocked, like we're still safe. Like there's not really much risk to it, which honestly I'm so grateful for. I feel like a move like this would be more likely to get punished. But because it's safe on block, we are way more like having look range, dude. That's crazy.
I don't use this move enough, I would say. Look
at this range.
Yeah, it is pretty insane.
That's why it's like it's not just that you can also cancel the whole thing, which also like makes it pretty goofy because like you end up like confusing them. But like.
Whenever I'm doing 4-2 into Onsoku, I sometimes cancel this by accident. I don't know how I'm doing it, to be honest. Am I going down? Is that why?
You gotta hold down, yeah. You gotta hold down.
The hold down is a cancel?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I'm canceling it. Because I think I'm holding down too much to transition to Onsoku and into Onsoku 4. And I'm holding down too long. which is
Maybe
why
you're
it
like doing like
cancels.
maybe you're like instinctively doing like a half circle motion,
Yeah.
which can happen
Okay.
definitely for sure. But you can sort of see like
How Unsoku could
how
be
you
extremely useful.
exactly because like I get to like fish out for like this is something I have to do a lot by the way. I fish for a lot of like potential whip punishers with this.
Yeah.
And like it allows me to just like be able to figure out these ways. So this is why Ahsoka Silver Reborn allows you to create a lot of whip opportunities. Not just that,
Yeah.
if you do the cancel fast enough, you're also able to still block a lot of things that normally wouldn't be able to block.
Right.
Like, so like let's say you went for like okay, first of all, you can see me attempting to fish for Ahsoka 4 here, which you can see how like much range I covered. First of all, like look at this. Like,
Right.
1, 2, send 4, and then I tried to fish for like so sometimes people will try to set P, right?
Right.
And instead of me guessing like which way they're stepping, I just
Right.
use Onsoku, like I use the back steps just so I can realign with them, and then at that point I just out of the Onsoku. It's like a common flow chart that I personally do, because it allows me to just it allows me to auto reline, which makes my life a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
You can see that, but
I think-
unfortunately I die here.
Oh, you die for this?
Yeah,
Wow.
because look at this damage from King. He does this one.
Heat engage into heat smash.
He does.
gets a
Look at
spike.
that. Look at that damage.
Yeah, no.
That's
That's
just the
from one
starter.
heat smash.
Yep, he has not had the most damage he's put in the game. So I was like, yeah, I'm not surviving this. I already said GG the moment I got hit by it. There's just no escaping that.
Crazy heat smash. That's so much
Yep.
damage. I remember when the game first came out, I was complaining so much about King.
Dude, it's still annoying, but
Yeah.
still good nerf next update for sure. But
Yeah. I used to complain a lot about Dragunov too, but we'll get to that another time.
it's
But
fine.
I understand the Onsoku being a super useful thing, and especially if I want to reach higher than Tekken King, I should probably add that to my arsenal of like Onsoku.
It just looks so
canceling.
cool, man.
It does
Like,
look
allows
really
you-
cool.
Like it looks so cool. It allows you to create all these space. And the reason why I want to also bring it up is like when you get used to the cancel, right? This is just
Right.
something that helps me so much. Like it helps me so much. Like wait, let me show you what a common Kuma sequence, for example, looks like.
Okay.
Let me do this real quick. So like let's say, so typical Kuma sequence is they'll do like back one. Sorry, let me do this. Hold on. Let me do like so they'll do like this sequence right here. They'll do like back 4-2 into like a back one. Let me just make them block one.
Right.
Bum into this. So common sequence, they'll do
Right.
like a -5 move on block into the back one,
Uh-huh.
and normally they'll reject this, which is fine. But doesn't really allow you to just like, see how like sometimes like the range will be like out of place, and then
Yeah.
you end up getting punished for that.
Mhm.
That's where it becomes really annoying. Whereas like I personally like to go for 4-2 cancel here, because
Right.
the moment I see him do this, right, I can I can still get my mid check in. See that? So I'm still able to get my mid check in, and I'm still able to cancel it fast enough just for me to be able to block. See that? So this is why this cancel can be so also that's still tip range, so that you can't block at every range, right? But it's like you can sort of see like why this is important, because this allows you to still safely cancel and still safely check people at the same time. This has helped me more time than I can ever honestly like, give it credit for. And like why the cancel, you're gonna end up like getting more comfortable doing this over time, because it allows you to like do the same sequence against other stuff like Fukuteki, for example, where it's like if you do the cancel fast enough, you're able to input your 4-4 afterwards, which I'll probably get into later, but just showing you like, I guess rather just I should probably explain it now. Like it's pretty straightforward. You either commit to your health option, which is just immediately accessed by doing down forward. Or if you want to go for like more electric stuff, you only press down forward here.
I know a lot of people at my local, whenever they see that move, they know a hell sweep's coming. So I try to mask it and try to cancel out that wave dash into a move, which I want to get into another thing in just a bit after we finish this topic. So like, a common sequence I would do is do that stance into 4-4 or something like that.
Yeah. So you need to like I guess when you're doing the Fukuteki thing, are you doing like instead of going to wave dash, right? So are you going into wave dash and then canceling the wave dash into forward 4, or are you canceling the Fukuteki sense as a whole? 'Cause I feel like when you're canceling the wave dash itself, it becomes a lot slower for your cancel to come out.
I do agree. I was just about to say, because another thing was some of the top players helped me out a lot with my like gameplay, and they told me that I shouldn't do this move often because you're giving the opponent time to think, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
But that also means that you're only applying one mix-up the whole time.
Uh-huh.
So when you're only representing, so, okay, so let me say this, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you're only representing, okay, so this is, I guess let me recap a little bit. What makes Reina so good, and the
Mm-hmm.
idea of mix-ups, is that she's able to apply a lot, and I mean a lot of mental mix. So that means you need to vary your timing between
Yeah.
going either for immediate stuff
Mm-hmm.
or masking your approach through other means. So
Right.
when you're always like, whenever you learn like a heating gauger, for example, right? Let's just use this
Right.
as prime example because this is where this mix is going to be mostly applied, right?
Right.
You want to vary your approach and your options between a
Mm-hmm.
lot of options, and I'll keep it very very simple. So just keep your options to this, and this will be your reasoning for why. Okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna do the following sequences. So after hitting gauges, I guess you could like
Right.
write this down if you want, really.
Right.
So after hitting gauges, this will be your options. So you want to either stick to running pressure, so you want to go for like running 3, and this will only, I guess you could say like apply when you're just in neutral, right? Like this is
Right.
not like a round ending situation, because if you're in a round ending situation where like you're able to kill, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like then that's different. But this is just putting it in the idea that you both have a lot of health to work with, and this is not like a specific situation, okay?
Right.
So keep it simple with going for running pressure. This
Yeah.
is where if they offer you the respect, you're able to get a lot of chip in, and you're able to get a lot of mix-ups afterwards. So this should be your main form of approach, right?
Right.
If they showcase that they're willing to challenge this. Now this is coming from a more either this comes from two stereotypes of players.
Right.
Either the I don't care type,
Right.
or the hey I know I got peers available type. So it's
Right.
either a smart player or a stupid player.
Okay.
So either way, you're still vulnerable to getting randomly power crushed here, which will happen, regardless if they're a good player or not.
Right.
Some people will still power crush anyways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they're willing to showcase a challenge attempt, okay? When
Mm-hmm.
they're willing to showcase a challenge attempt, then switch to Plan B. Now this will be your Plan B, okay? Plan
Okay.
B is, I guess you could solve, I guess you could say like nickname or whatever, right? Like
Right.
plan, like I don't know. We'll just call it Plan B for now. So when they're doing that, let your mix-ups be forward 4. Forward 4, or if you're gonna go for like more of an immediate approach, you can go
Right.
for hell sweeps. So you can make it either that, or you go for forward 4. And the reason why forward 4 is so good here is because like when they're so used to power crushing after like certain sequences, for example, like let's say that they're doing like either like a parry or like they're doing like a power crush, whatever the case might be, right? Like all these things can power crush you that.
Right.
Whereas if we switch that to forward 4, you see how like that now this is winning now. See that?
Yeah, it's a counter.
So this, yeah. So this is why this is important, because this allows you to like apply the proper counterplay that you need to know in order to beat this certain option that you're now running into, right? So whenever I'm like, I guess you could think of it as like a coding program, right?
Yeah.
If opponent is power crushing, apply forward 4. If
Yeah.
opponent is standing still, apply running. It's like simple coding project, right? It's like
Wait,
simple
hold
JavaScript.
on. Go back real quick because that's actually a really good analogy considering I'm a computer science major.
Perfect. So it's like use it as like a coding program, right? Like
Yeah.
just use it like use a what if loop, right? Just, if they're doing this, do this. If they're not doing that, then do this.
If
It's like,
power
it's that simple.
crush, if power crush,
Just forward 4,
if
electric, or health sweep.
if respect, for running
if
pressure.
respect, running pressure.
Yeah.
Simple.
Okay.
Or if you want to get fancy with it, you can also go for health sweep mix, just to throw it out there, right? Because that's still a way of getting low pressure in. Because if they're going to
Yeah.
respect you, running pressure or like health sweep, right? Like that should
Yeah.
be like the basics.
Okay.
If they're
Wait.
if they're disrespecting, right?
I would say my
parrying.
I would say my most
Yep.
common sequences after heating gauge is gonna be either round running 3, round running 4, 4, or hell sweep. Those are my 4 options I'm usually doing off of heating gauge.
Yeah, and those are good, but just having more reasoning behind it can also help, right?
Yeah.
So if you're willing, so like I guess you could say like we'll go back to the whole like loop statement, right? Where it's like
Right.
okay, if they're willing to power crush or like slash parry, whatever the case might be, because some people have a parry as well. Reina being one of them, where she has like a really strong parry afterwards.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like Clive. I'll use Clive as an example here because you might run to like a Clive player, right? We'll just use him, right? I'll just focus use him. we'll use his parry like a prime example. Because some people have like really strong parries afterwards, and that can shut down a lot of our options. And now we gotta play around that, right? So like, I'll just use Clive here. And just if you want to be really nerdy about it, typically a super parry like Clive, for example, has a 5-frame startup on this parry.
Right.
So if you want to do the math real quick, Heat Engager plus 17, Axe Kick 19 frames, right? So there's a 2-frame gap there, right?
Right.
So unless they have a 2-frame parry, which not many people have,
right.
Maybe like besides like Raven having a 1-frame parry,
right.
The reason why we're going for forward 4 here is because that 2-frame gap existing, that parry no longer becomes a threat, right? Whereas if we go for a running 3, for example, because this is a 24-frame move, even though we're plus 17, right? If you do some quick maths, what's 17 minus 24, whatever that number is, like that's still that's still within the 5-frame gap that they're able to like parry us with. So you do some simple math, that works. See that? So like that's the reasoning behind it, right? If you only use like actual numbers to build more logic behind why things work, that's why.
All right.
So because it's the go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, so another thing with 4-4, I know this happens quite often. So Heat Engage, 4+4, and then I know that if 4+4 is blocked, it's a frame trap. I'll instantly go into down forward 1, right? Down forward 1, and if it hits, down forward 1-2, and that's a hit confirm, right? So
if they end up in crouching status only, right?
It's only in crouching status.
Yeah, so if you ever land a forward 4, like if they're in a crouching status, right? But not in a regular standing status. This will not work if they're like normally standing up.
Right.
So like see how that's not guaranteed. This only works if they're in a crouching status. So see how forward 4 will like get in that if they're crouching.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, so this is why forward 4 is so important, and why like it's similar thing to how Heihachi, right? So Heihachi had this forever, and like why Reina being the daughter / adoptive daughter of Heihachi had a similar trait, where like in Heihachi's case, he used to get the same idea of just getting down forward 1-2. He still does, but they made his way more roided now because he gets a full launcher of this.
Right.
And this only happens if they're like within crouching status. Otherwise, nothing else is guaranteed after at that point. See that?
Right.
Everything's blockable. It's only if they're crouching. And how you know that they're crouching is look at the blocks animation, right? So see that? So this is how you visually react to it. So you gotta visually like pay attention, even though it looks similar, right?
Right.
If you know that they're blocking, or rather like crouch blocking here, like it's like they bend their hand down a lot more, and it's more of like a visual like cue for you, saying, hey, this was a crouching status, right?
Right.
And that's your visual cue to confirm that you're able to like, apply your mix better and understand, hey, I have a follow up here, See that?
Got it. Okay.
That's why it's super important.
I understand.
So,
okay, so that's a new thing.
This is super important to know, and like I guess you could say like one of the key things to practice reacting to visually is knowing when this move lands as a like crouching status versus standing status. This will let you like know like when to go for this.
That is a good idea because another common answer to this for most of my friends that I've played against is they'll down jab me right after, and so 4+4, and they'll down jab if it's to like stop my pressure, and sometimes to counteract that, I'll do 4+4 into a sidestep or something like that.
Yeah. So whenever I guess you could say like common challenge attempts after a forward 4 is that we're really either willing to either wall something for, or like a down jab attempt, right? Like that's just common. I'm not sure if Clive has a down jab here actually. Hold on. I'm not sure if he has one. Let me make sure he has one because okay, he doesn't. Okay, there we go. So common response, right?
Right.
So they'll do like a down jab, they'll do like a generic low, or they'll do like wall something for, right? This is like a common response that we'll see all the time.
Right.
And our main answer around this is to either like hard commit to a frame trap, meaning that we can go for 1+2. But this is a frame trap, right? See that? This will work no matter what, because even though it's a down jab, it'll trade, but it'll still be in our favor. See that? Like they take way more damage than we do.
That was a frame trap.
Yeah, 1+2 is a frame trap. Yeah, it's like 12 frames. But it can be committal. It's only minus 10 on block, but it is a little bit committal. So
yeah,
if you really want to stop them from down jabbing on you, this is why we go for 1+2.
Got it.
See that? Or you can just play around it, right? And
Right.
this is where the whole playing around the thing is a little bit more technical. Honestly, it's a little bit honestly it's harder visually to react to, but
Right.
if you're cracked and let's say that you're on point,
Right.
you can do like a forward four, do a small side step forward four on a hard rate to see that.
Mm-hmm.
That allows you to just get another forward four in.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about down jab, right? So when
Right.
down jab whips, it still leaves the opponent in their crouching status, meaning
Right.
that when we land our follow forward four,
Right.
we still get a down for 1-2. See that?
Okay.
Also, if you want to get a little bit greedy about it, this is possible. Not something I would personally recommend going for, but it is there if you want to go for the extra damage.
Okay.
But besides the easy follow with down forward 1-2, you can also go for 4-4-2 send 3. This is actually possible as well.
Really? Really?
Yeah. This is extra damage, but it's a lot harder to do.
Is it because it's
Uh,
Manic?
Yeah, because 4-4-2 is a because this is a 13 frame, and 4-4-2 at the fastest frame to be buffered is 13 frames, so it's a literal just frame.
Yeah.
So if you want to go for something more fancy, then you can go for this. But like I said, this is a just frame, so be careful with
Right.
it. I personally land this like sometimes, whenever
Right.
I feel it. But for the most part, you just want to stick to the good old reliable down for 1-2, because you're only sacrificing like 5 points of damage, which is not too significant, and like a lot easier to go for. Especially with, like having that heat dash option afterwards is like super strong.
Huh. I did not know that. I'm gonna write that down in case I'm feeling like extra cracked one day.
Like if this is like your, I guess you could say like your styling kind of move, where it's like you want to like show off your execution, you go for a 4-4-2 here.
Right.
But yeah, that's your just frame if you want to go for that. But otherwise, like just to keep it simple, go for down for 1-2 and so on and so on. Yeah, that's why 4-4 is so important for us, because we
Right.
get to apply all these things.
Okay.
Not only that, it's also our main way to make our Fukuteki mix so powerful, because obviously we have health as well here, right? But
Yeah.
the moment we start getting more comfortable canceling this into forward four, see that? This is what you need to also get comfortable doing if you want to apply more Fukuteki stuff, is being able to cancel Fukuteki fast enough by doing a down forward back input into the immediate forward four. So
Right.
me personally, I like to never go neutral. I know the inputs look super weird,
Uh-huh.
but that's just me like switching. I wish I could show like a hand cam here, to be honest with you. It's like I'm never like going of neutral. Sorry, rather I'm just going from down forward
Right.
into back into forward. So it's like let me pull this up, I guess.
Fukuteki. Okay.
Let me guess. This is my D-pad, right? So
Hold
this
on.
is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You can see this, right? Yeah, you can see
Yeah,
it.
I can see it.
I guess I could say like this is what I'm doing. So this is what I'm doing. So I am doing a down forward input,
Yeah.
and then I am switching from down forward. This is my thumb.
Yeah.
I'm going from here, and then I'm going from there to back.
Right.
This is what I'm doing.
Okay.
And afterwards, I'm still not letting go of. I'm still not letting go of
The D-pad, right?
D-pad.
Right.
I'm going from here to here.
Right.
And afterwards, I press the 4 button. This is the 4 button here.
Okay, so that's
Hence
that's how you do your cancel.
Yeah. This is how I personally buffer it,
Okay.
and why it works for me. You can do whatever method works for you, but I'm just showing you what I personally do. And like, this cancel becomes a lot more easy to do at that point, because it just becomes a lot more easy to buffer. See that? You might get a little bit awkward, because you don't want to buffer it a little bit too quickly. You gotta just take your time, like buffering the window there. But you can see how much faster it comes out. See that?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why like getting into the flow of this cancel is pretty important. Just having it like work out, because this makes your Fukuteki approach so much more stronger.
Yeah.
So see that? Boom, boom. And then that's what you're fine.
Okay.
But yeah. We'll go back into our main hidden engager topic. So hidden
Okay.
engagers. So just a reminder. If you want to go for other mixes, that's fine.
Right.
But generally against people that mash, like I said, you want to keep it simple with forward four, because this will be all parry attempts.
Right.
Or if you want to really hard call them out on mashing, you can go for like a electric afterwards. Just go for that. 'Cause that will be a full launcher at that point, right? And that's your way of like hard calling them out on like mashing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I have
but
another
their
question about
idea-
the 4+4 as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so
ahead.
another sequence that I actually hit last night when I was playing player matches with my friends is I hit 4 into an electric, and that's also somewhat of a a much harder frame trap, I would say, but I caught him multiple times with it.
It's not exactly a frame trap because they can, although the frame data is 11 frames, this move isn't exactly 11 frames. It's like 13 to 14 at fastest.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly a frame trap, but they were probably like either like stepping into it or they were probably like doing some form of mistake that let him eat it all the time.
Right.
Exactly. So it's like maybe they're challenging like a very slow move, maybe they're challenging it like very slow times. Just let him eat it a lot, which is good. If it was working for him, that's what matters, right? If it works, it works.
Right.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it's
right. Of course.
If it works, it works. But it's not exactly a frame trap on paper. The reason why like we don't always go for electric after hitting edges all the time, even though it'll also be matchers, is because we're trying to cover 2 options with our forward 4. So forward 4, the reason why we go for this most of the time because it's our safest option.
Yeah.
Not just that. So the whole idea of heating gauges, right? So we won't only go for. I guess if I can find some footage here of it, maybe. Let me go into like this match over here. Let me see if I can find like a heating gauge here somewhere. I guess I'll go back into the first round.
Okay.
Let's go over here. Before I enter heat. I think like a throw here. Boom. He enters heat. How did I enter heat here? Oh, I just popped heat first. Probably, yeah. Yeah, I did. Let me find another round. Maybe round 2. Trying to find like one specific round where I want to showcase what it looks like. Bum. Here we go. Oh, he was crazy for that. I think okay, there's not around either. Was around here maybe? Okay, hit engager. Yeah, forward. See that? But he tried to do the muscle armor there, and because we're trying to cover that option, because another thing I've been doing a lot recently, right? Not recently, rather like a lot throughout that set is that I won't always go for a running option.
Right.
That's just my first approach, but because me and Boot King, for example, we played multiple times before, we're more familiar with each other.
Yeah.
It doesn't become the meta anymore. But
right.
if it's like a brand new player, I will check them with my running pressure first, see if they're willing to challenge, right?
Right.
But generally, like after heat engagers, you want to be able to capitalize on that idea of you taking a risk. And what that looks like is that after a heat engager lands, you gotta be willing to like apply a like healthy mix.
Yeah.
This is why like forward 4 is so important, because the moment you start applying the idea that a health sweep could possibly come out after like a heat engager, this is where the forward 4 becomes more powerful. Because at that point, when they end up challenging you and losing, and you're going for a lot of health sweeps afterwards to annoy them, they might end up ducking at the heat engages afterwards. And forward 4 ends up covering all those options. See that?
Yeah.
That's why it becomes super strong in that regard.
Yeah.
So like that's sort of why like we want to have all these options available to us, because that ends up adding up a lot more options for us. And just, the same applies here. I believe I landed it a few times. Let me try to remember his set today. There was a person I landed a lot of 4-4s against, but I can't remember for the life of me. Okay, I can't remember right now, but just know that like when you're applying enough like healthy mixes and whatnot, like eventually down the line, like you end up like letting yourself be able. I think I'm dead here. Do I get here? Here? I think I'm dead. Yeah, I'm dead. Okay, I applied heat way too early here. Hold on, how did I get it? Oh yeah, I just popped heat.
Crazy float. Did you try to go half kick?
Yeah, he did round start forward 4, because that's King's homing move that'll like catch both sides of stepping. So he bet on me like stepping round start. That's why. Like he'll take some crazy gambles like that.
Okay.
That's what I mean by like round start meta. Like remember like when we talked about our last session, like down for 1 sentai shouldn't be a thing. This is why. Because some people will do some crazy stuff like this round start, and you don't want to end up in like a throw animation, right?
Right.
So like that's why it's another important thing. But yeah. I'm trying to find another round. Okay. You know what? I'm not gonna bother wasting too much time in this. Just know that. Just know that like. The more mental mix you add.
Yeah.
The more like layered your options become.
Yeah.
And like. That's the thing with Rain, right? The more options you represent, the more mental mix start adding towards your opponent. And the more mental mix they feel, the more scared they'll feel to press. So at that point, the more comfortable you get, the more time you'll end up matching against them. And even then, like I'll show you a funny clip against my friend where it's like you condition them so much to the point where like
were you looking up? Sorry, I saw one of your tab. Were you looking up Ryuji Kiyomi too?
No, because me and my friends were debating about like which Kiwami game was like the worst. And I was like, yo, if Kiwami 2 didn't have Ryuji, it'd be a bad game.
Kinda
We're just debating
agree.
that.
Kinda agree on it, but at the same time, I love Kiwami too. I just finished it like a month ago.
Yakuza series in general is just great. Also, we were just talking about like the Like a Dragon Pirate game. That's why, because we were all just talking about Yakuza stuff.
Yeah, gotcha.
Let me try to find. Okay, here it is. So this is what happens when you apply enough mental mix on your opponent. So me and AAA, best Oscar player in Saudi, we play all the time.
Right.
So this is what I mean by you play enough mental mix on them, and they end up panicking.
That that's diabolical.
This is what I mean when I mean like what makes Reina so powerful is that she's able to apply so much mental mix to the person that whenever you start going for crazy stuff like that, where they just don't know exactly when to expect the next move, you end up in these goofy situations where they end up just panicking, going for like a rage art or something.
That's so funny.
And because you're able to cancel fast enough with the Fukuteki, you're still able to, like, still block it afterwards. Like, if I didn't know how to cancel very well, I probably would have eaten that rage art, and that's why we need to practice this cancel, because it's super, super important.
Right.
But yeah, that's why, that's what I mean. But, like, the moment you stop, like, going for the plan A, B, and C pressure, and the moment you start adding more to your arsenal, and this is where this stuff comes in, or maybe if you want to go for, like, stuff like this, this will also mess them up as well.
Right.
So like there's just so much stuff you're able to like mask all the time, and that's why this is super important. So that's what your healing engine mixer should look like. So just, just to quickly recap, if they respect running pressure, or if when they go for like healthy mixers, that's also fine. If they're disrespecting, then forward becomes a available option. Or if you just want to make sure they don't try to disrespect you, you can apply forward as like a first base mix. There's not exactly a wrong reason to go for that. Because sometimes you just want to play safe from the first interaction just to get information, right? So another key way to get information is you're able to either take the approach of playing it safe first and then playing wild afterwards. What I mean by that is that showcase the option that's generally unchallengeable as a first response. See what their tendencies are, because some people might challenge on their first response, some people might not. So it's like, in order for you to have that information in your head, you can start off, like, let's say, like, the first round, you land that first healing engager, right? You can have the first sequence you do just be a forward and just seeing how they respond, right? That can be, because first of all, you're covering, I guess you could say, 2 birds with 1 stone, right? So the first one, what I mean by that is you're trying to check what their reactions are after eating a healing engager. Are they the type to respect you? Are they the type to look for a parry attempt? Are they the type to challenge, right? And afterwards, after that RPS meta is done, now you gotta worry about how they're responding to forward 4, right? Like how, because this is one of our key moves initial, right? This is forward 4, axe kick, 19 frames, plus 2 on block, etc., plus 5 on hit. But you also want to see how they respond to this. So this is like another important thing that we need to like capitalize on, is understanding how they're reacting. Like this is what I mean. If you like remember our previous sessions of how they're approaching as neutral, we can bring up the note here somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere here. But it's like in neutral, like over here. Like let me find this. Hold on, where is it? Here, yeah, this one.
Okay.
So it's like, this is, well, I mean, not exactly this. Here, this one exactly. So this is like going back to this point right here. This is how we get information, right? So this is a very small interaction, but we're covering a lot of our bases. Like I guess you could say like we have this, we open up like this idea of just like going into like this. I guess you could say like you could have like a checklist of information like as you're going to these matches, right? So I guess you could call it like a common checklist, right? I guess we'll just call it common checklist for, I guess you could say like knowledge BS. Fuck it. We'll just call it that.
Yeah.
So it's just, this is what we mean, but like how are they responding to the following moves, right?
Yeah.
And one of them being like 4-4-2, right? Like how are they responding to 4-4-2 mix? How are they responding to forward 4 mix? How are they responding to health save mix, right? And so on, right? So it's like you're trying to like fill in the gaps for all of these question marks that you have about your opponent,
Mm-hmm.
the more interactions you have, right? Like how are they responding to key pokes, like jabs, down forward ones,
Yeah.
generic lows, sights up four, maybe down back four. You can add that in there as well. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and then how are they responding to raw running, pressure response? I guess you could say
Mm-hmm.
that because this is also different.
Mm-hmm.
How are they responding to send 1+2 on block? Are they respecting? Are they disrespecting? How
Mm-hmm.
are they responding to like? I guess you could say like how are they responding to wall setting 4/4
Mm-hmm.
wrath and heat, for example? Like are they falling for the parry setup? Are they
Mm-hmm.
launching me properly, right? Because if they're launching me properly, probably shouldn't go for it too often. Especially they have like a good hop kick, because hop kicks tend to lose to wrath. Like
Mm-hmm.
if the opponent has like a hop kick,
Mm-hmm.
uh, they're always gonna launch us in wrath 4/4 heat.
Right.
Like sorry, I'll say 4/4 heat
Right.
because we can't block that, and because it's an aerial move, right? Hop kicks are considered aerial moves, and our parry doesn't work against that.
Right.
So like and so on and so on. Like these are like common like gaps you want to fill out. The more you're like I guess you could say like interacting with your opponent, right?
Right.
And like common flowchart that I've also mentioned before is like just seeing how they respond to 1/1, for example. Like this can be very simple.
Right.
Like let's say you have them at the wall and you want to just go for 1/1, and you just want to see how they respond to this, right? So some people might jab back immediately. Some people try to like go for like a slow move. Maybe they'll respond with like a down for one check. I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure I can maybe find a quick sequence here if I go back to my VOD as well, where I had them like towards the wall. Well, perfect timing.
Mm-hmm.
So here it's like I try to delay my
Have his wrath
unbreakable
grab.
grab.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they tend to like do like a quick fuzzy tuck, right? And I wanted to catch them off guard.
Right.
But they're doing a fuzzy guard to a hop kick here 'cause they wanted to cover their options, and this is
Mm-hmm.
just like mind games to run to a lot, right? But it's like just seeing how they respond to all these things, and because
Mm-hmm.
this allows you to build a better game plan, you know.
Right.
Now I see that they're doing a down jab, they're 4/2, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
that's another common response I might get around because if you know what the common responses might look like after these options, it allows
Mm-hmm.
you to build a better game plan. Like this is what essentially like what makes an experienced player better than a non-experienced player
Mm-hmm.
is that they're able to fill in these gaps easier because they're more experienced in running those situations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like this also applies to vice versa, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like besides you filling in these gaps, know that your opponent's also filling in their own gaps with their own
Mm-hmm.
interactions. Like for example, in King's case, right? Like we'll just use King as an example here, right?
Right.
King example. How are they responding to down 4-2 pressure, right? Are they ducking
Right.
down 4-2-1?
Right.
How are they responding to giant swing situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like after the throw break, like are they gonna like rush me down? Or are they gonna give me respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And et cetera, et cetera. And, like this applies to everyone, right? So it's like
Right.
that's what I mean by like you want to fill in all these gaps as the matches go on, and
Mm-hmm.
good players. Well, what makes a good player a good player versus compared to like I guess you could say like why experience matters so much in this game
Right. Right.
is that as building up to my key point before is that a good player will know exactly what the answer would look like to whatever response the opponent might showcase.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I guess a little pop quiz. You're
Okay.
doing 4-4-2, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Um, the I guess you could say like the most common response that the opponent has done to you has been a down jab. So what's your response to that?
Sentai 1-2.
Exactly, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either do that or you have another option, right?
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
I would say the fuzzy him out Sentai 1-2. Or no, not Sentai 2. No, that doesn't work. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Let's see.
There's two options that can win there.
So Sentai 1-2, I will also
Yep.
say I think Sentai 4 gets floated if it's a down jab.
No, actually, 4-4-2. So only against down jabs
Yeah.
and generic lows will
Right.
actually win. So if their
Okay.
response has been generic low or
Yeah.
down jab, if it's
Mhm.
not from other situations, right? So
Mhm.
some situations the down jab will still win. If they do like a very very delayed down jab, then yes, it'll
Yeah.
also lose, unfortunately. And hopefully they buff that season too, because that
Mhm.
should not be a thing. But either way, that's the current meta we face right now. Is that
Mhm.
only generic lows will lose and down
Mhm.
jabs will lose. And I'll showcase this in game so that it makes better sense. Let me
Right.
actually have Rina here as well, so I can better time it myself.
Yeah.
Let's do this real quick. But yes, generally against down jab people that tend to down jab a lot.
Mhm.
And this is only if they down jab a lot. Okay, so this is what I mean.
Mhm.
Like if they down jab a lot, because you don't want to only commit to that option. Obviously,
Mhm.
it's still an RPA situation.
Mhm.
But then to like this is generally what it looks like. So you want to go for like, you can still do this. Let's go for that, which obviously you can also get for hit confirm the second hold as well, which is fine.
Right.
Or if you go for 10-4, which is also fine.
Mhm.
Let me do this real quick. Boom, boom. So this will also work against people that down jab. See that?
Mhm.
This will only work if they don't do like a very very late down jab.
Mhm.
And if they do a very very late down jab, then 10-1 will still win because that still is like a very very it's still a fast power crush, right? See that? That's why it still matters.
Yeah.
So honestly, the best bet for challengers is send one.
Got it.
And this will also work against people that do like a jab break. So they'll do like a 1-2. This will also work. See that?
Right.
This is why the power crunch is super super important because it also helps you in that regard, and also helps you in the idea if it whiffs. So let's say your forward 2 whiffs.
Uh huh.
But like let's say the opponent responds like very very slow. Let me do this real quick. Let me make it to that whiffs. Let me do like over here. Okay. See how like even if it whiffs, if the opponent is
Mhm.
slow on their response, it still
Mhm.
can like absorb it.
Right.
This is why send one confirm is super super important, and
Mhm.
why when they use it way more. So that's sort of why like when it comes to filling in these checklists in our information, I guess you could say like information gathering, right? Like this is what I mean by like what the neutral approach looks like and what we're wanting to like understand like what their tendency is
Mhm.
being like, just so that we're able to build a better counterplay for it.
Okay.
Um, and this is so that's what beat down jabs. So if you're looking for jab attempts, right?
Right.
What beats jab attempts?
Right. What beats jab attempts? Let's
Single
check.
jab.
Single
What
jab.
what keeps it? Because obviously jab strings, like I mentioned, can be also be beaten by 10-1. But
Right.
let's just think about single jab.
Single jab, Sentai 3. Gets a trade off, right?
We're correct.
Um, Sentai 2. No, I don't think Sentai 2 gets beaten. I think.
Yeah.
Um, wait. So Sentai 3 trades from
Yep.
just like a single jab. I think Sentai 3-4 also beats high
There we go.
crushes.
There we go. So if we're looking for people that are jabbing us a lot,
Right.
this is what we should be willing to showcase. So when we're looking for single jab attempts,
Uh-huh.
this is where we apply 70+4, because at that point we annoy them enough to stop jabbing and start looking for more lows. So they'll end up board ducking at that point.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by like
Mhm.
having all this like mental mix matter, and that's sort of like why we want to like just be more attentive to
Right.
what their tendency is being like, and then
Uh-huh.
just trying our best to make the correct read based on like what their tendency has been like. Now,
Okay.
obviously, like if they're just holding it back as well, like 10-3+ work can also still be useful because it's still a low that you're able to
Mhm.
like play with.
Mhm.
And like obviously if they're side to step, like 3+4 is also a homing low, right? So it's like because of that homing property, like we can still like still catching like stepping attempts and whatnot, and even like a keep out tool, right? Like just
Mhm.
doing like a raw anti 3+4 is still a really good option.
Mhm.
So like this spell has a lot of utility in that case. But generally, like yeah, I guess like jab attempts, that's what our common responses should be like, is either send 3 or send 3+4, right? That should be like that's our Sentai specific options. Now of course if you're just thinking about 442 in general, then there's obviously the idea of just not going into stances at all, right? Just going forward to empty, right? There's also like the least risky option you're also able to do, which is also good. But just having the Sentai specific options, if you're going from that stance, then that's where 442 matters. Obviously this doesn't apply to all stances though. So for example, like a jab response here. So let me just do like a punish sequence here, and we'll do jabs. So this won't always apply to all stances, and what I mean by that is like think about 4-2-3 Sentai, right? So this is -9 on block, going into stances -2, right? So 4-4-2 is stances +2. See that? Even though it's plus on block, it's only plus on block because we're going to stand into actual stance options, and these stance options are what varies, right? So this being a 12, this being a 12 frame move from stance, from a forward approaching stance that's like plus 2 on block, right? This is why it trades, because 12 frames with the 10 frame move. Do some simple math. You take away 2 frames, 10 frame move, 10 frame move, right? Simple math. But the same thing won't apply if you go for 4-2-3, for example. So 4-2-3, and then plus 4, we'll still lose jabs because the high crush doesn't come out fast enough. Same thing with down forward 1 into send 3 plus 4. See that? See how it's not working here? Even though we're going in from the, even though we're going for the same move, right? Because it's coming out slower, it doesn't really let you like do that high crush in time. Whereas 4-4-2 has a way more like advanced mind game, and that's why that matters. The good thing about 4-2-3 though is that when people are doing like a jab string, this is when they tend to do like a lot of jab strings. When they see like 4-2-3 or down forward 1, and this is my personal favorite thing to do, is just to go for more armor options off of this, because this is generally where people tend to challenge a lot more. Because 4-4-2, people will be more likely to respond to respect. Whereas 4-2-3, because I'm able to apply so much more mental mix off of it, I'm either going into like Unsoku cancel, obviously, I'm either going to like a stance off of that, or I go into 4-2-3 and I end up going in for mix off of it. So so on.
Right.
But you can sort of see like how like even though these are all different sequences, right? We're still going back into the same checklist. Like how are they responding to send mix, right? It's like send mix from all these variations. So for example, like 4-4-2 mix can be like a key point. I guess I could say like of the main point here being like send mix, for example. Like we'll do this send mix, then we'll just have another key point here saying 4-4-2 mix, and then we'll just do like down forward 1 send mix, for example, right? And then we'll just add another key point saying 4-2-3. If you want to add another one, really, you could say back 1-1, but this is also another option we can also go into. This is also like a knowledge check string.
I've gotten people with that move. More so because I've masked, or well in heat. Sometimes I will mask since I 1+2 the Heaven's Wrath parry, and people will know that and try to jab me out of it.
And also why it's super good as well is because the second hit of this is actually like counter hit confirmable, right? Well, sorry, not counter hit confirmable, but rather like the whole string on counter is natural. So if you catch someone's matching on this, for example, this whole thing is natural. See that? That's super powerful in that regard. So like that's also why it's important, but like also on block, some people will be like, oh, what the hell is this string? And they'll end up being more likely to like jab on it. So let me just do this 3 hits. So whenever they see all this, and this is like another good place to apply the power crush as well, because some people will end up jabbing on this as well. But this is also like not plus into stand. This is like actually neutral. So see that? See, if you look at the frame counter at the bottom left, you can sort of see like what the situation is looking like. So although it's very brief, you gotta like, pay a little bit of attention to it. You can see that it's saying 0 the moment you enter Sentai. See that?
Right.
So like that's why it matters. But generally, this is what I mean by just. I guess you could think of it as like I guess we'll use the computer science thinking is right. Just think of it as like a program where it's like you wanna like have the answers for these, because in your head you already know what the answers are looking like.
Right.
Meaning that I guess you could say like send mix. We'll just have like, besides knowing how they're responding, right? We'll just have the general rule is like if jab attempt, right? You can go for send 3 or send 3+4.
Yeah.
Send 1 if jab strings / Asuka jab, because Asuka jab can't. Sadly, Asuka's jab is the only jab in the game that can't do a single jab check and then still like block afterwards. Because you know how like when you're doing like a jab check here, like you're able to block after right? Because the jab recovers fast enough. Asuka's jab is the only jab in the game that tends to not have that rule, because her jab is unique. So her jab is like the only one that does this, which is good in our favor. So like if you know that they're doing her jab here, just if you're playing this matchup specifically, do that. If you're gonna abuse that, definitely want to abuse that for there. So this is what I mean by like having like, besides like having your own checklist, right? Knowing your advantages and disadvantages in certain matchups is also like another way of improving.
Right.
And this is something, again, another thing that you build over experience, right? So like for example, like we'll take I'll make a very brief example here. So we'll do we'll do this. So we'll do healthy mix, right? So
Right.
let me talk about how to mix now. We'll cover this in the same time because we already covered Senpai at this point, right? Like you're already familiar with like what the options look like. So
Yeah.
if they're so if they're jab attempting, we have this. Down jab. If I guess we'll do this. If down jab attempt, and I'll send this to you afterwards. It's fine. If down jab attempt, send 4 / send 1. If generic low, just send 4
Mm-hmm.
or bait out. I guess you could say like a 4 for 2 empty. I guess I'll add 4 for 2 empty here into bait. Actually I'll just leave it out. This is just send mix. What else? I guess I'll say like if down jab / big challenge. I guess you could say. So this is what the RPS looks like, right? So you have your rock, paper, scissors. So you see all these things.
Mm-hmm.
This is why the game we just break it down as simple RPS, because this is what it generally boils down to, right? Like you can see what your RPS is 1, 2, 3, and this is what their options are, like, right? So this is your 1, 2, 3, and this is their 1, 2, 3. So it's like you can sort of see like how like why we break this, in order to make it more clear for the opponent to understand. It's just RPS because it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this. You have this option. I have this option, right? You can either tie. Or I can win, right? So the odds are 66% in your favor, 33% in their favor, right? That's sort of generally how it goes, right?
Okay.
But yeah. All right. So the same thing also applies from Hellscape Mix, right? So we have, I guess I could say like Rat Mix because we'll get to that now. So Rat Mix, similar from Hellscape, also differs because when you're like doing it from certain sequences. So for example, like we'll talk about like running 4, for example, right? Running 4. So this allows you to be +8 into Wrath Stance in their face, right? So when you're in their face, you have more options available to you, right? So you have like first of all, you have the grab being available to you, whereas in neutral, if you do the Hell Sweep, no longer available. See that? So this is sort of why it matters, because we understand like what our Wrath Mix options are looking like from what sequence we're like running into.
Okay.
And not just that, also positioning matters as well, right? So if we're doing the Hellscape Mix at the wall, for example, now grab becomes available again. See that?
Right.
So this is why, like, besides positioning, just having an understanding of like where our mix-up is, like, I guess you could say like knowing our options and when it's best to use each sequence of options like matters. Especially in situations where, like, let's say like we're able to cut off a potential form of escape, right? So like let's say that, for example, like against our wrath options, right? So it tends to be which side that's right.
I get. Okay. Something about this move.
Yeah.
Some people either backstep me or sidewalk me.
Yeah. That's because certain characters. So I'll just tell you this right now. So there are characters that are able to backdash wrath to you.
Yeah.
And that's the following characters. So Elisa can backdash it.
Yeah.
Fang can just back campo out of it.
Yeah.
Or backswing blow out of it. Same thing with Dragonov or Devil Jin. Blah blah blah. Like any backswing blow, pretty much.
Right.
Horong can just avoid it by doing like certain OSBS. Jag can backdash it.
Right.
Kuma can't backdash it. Let's see. No,
But yeah, this is basically like a more of a general
matchup
knowledge
thing.
check or matchup
Exactly.
knowledge.
It's all matchup specific. So this is what I mean by like we gotta know our options first before we start learning matchups, because matchups dictate our RPS a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And like what makes matchups so unique in this game is that it's changing up our options, right?
Right.
And why like this game gets complicated and why we consider certain characters bad matchups is because it limits what we're able to do, right?
Right.
For example, like Yoshi being one of them, right? Like Yoshi, like instead of worrying about Yoshi, like
Yoshi flashes my
this,
sentai every time.
This goes from RPS to 50-50.
Yeah.
This goes from if flash send 1. Otherwise 4-4-2 empty. That's all you do. Like this is why we consider some characters bad matchups.
I hate seeing like Yoshi, man.
That's what I mean. It's like some characters, they'll limit your options from being an actual mix-up to just straight up like 50-50.
Yeah.
And like sadly, this exists for other characters as well.
Yeah.
So if you remember, like me mentioning earlier, like, oh, if you're seeing a jab string, right, just do send one, right?
Right.
Now, what happens if you have a character like Brian who can exploit this?
Yeah.
So this is what I mean. So like certain people have certain book sequences,
Mm-hmm.
and Brian being one of them. So Brian, if they see our 442 mix, then this is only happening against a very, very good Brian player. But
Yeah.
I'll show you what I mean by having exploits. This is
Right.
what exploits look like, and this is why our power crush can lose sometimes when we shouldn't.
Huh? What
So this is what you're willing to sign up for the moment you play right now.
the?
I don't understand that there are certain sequences in this game.
Yeah.
Is what we call exploits, meaning
Yeah.
that certain sequences will not be to our traditional RPS.
Right.
Meaning that we need to change our options now. Now we need to adapt. Meaning that stuff that normally would work on other characters, and
Mhm.
I'll add healthy mix to this right now, just to keep it more simple.
Right.
If challenging, right, we'll have like after Haslip, we can either do like I guess I could say, if I guess I'll keep it be more specific. If Power
Right.
Crush / Rage Art challenge, right?
Right.
We'll do Wrath 1 because that's our fastest option. That's the only option that will beat that type of like challenging, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
If I guess let me expand this a little bit more because it's really important actually.
Yeah.
So I guess against Reyna in general. So I guess against healthy mix in general. So
Right.
because we're only +6, right? We only have so many options to work with.
Okay.
So generally, we have Rat 2, which is
Right.
our go-to option against challengers.
Right.
It's a frame trap, obviously. So against people that are jabbing or like doing a generic low, maybe
Mm-hmm.
is what our response would be like.
Mhm.
Same thing with Wrath 1, right? Wrath 1 giving us all this on counter here. So this is the thing about Wrath 1, by the way. So Wrath 1, so that's why this is a pretty important thing to know. So Wrath
Right.
1 has 3 different follow-ups.
Right.
First one being Wrath 1 4, which
Right.
is a safe mid on block. This is basically, just think of it as like Wrath 2 + 4. Really
Right.
the same move, only that it's offering a wall splat near the wall. So
Right.
if you're near the wall and you ever decide to land Wrath 1, always go for Wrath 1 4 because this is like your safest option. First of all,
Okay.
second of all, it also like gives you that wall splat to work with, right? So that gives you a lot of reward.
Right.
In the open gives you a small knockdown. They can just wake up here and back roll afterwards, but you can go for like a really good strong OQ mix afterwards, which is really, very strong. Meaning you're able to just take the initiative afterwards. Or if you're looking for heat engagers, and like let's say that you like have a lot of chip life, right? Like let's say that you're like, let me paint this picture for you, right? We'll do this. Let me put here, for example. Not that. Where is this? Is this it? There you go. So see my current life bar, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you have all the chip available to you.
Right.
You don't want to, let's say that he's still available to you, and let's say that you still have a lot of health to gain back, right? Doesn't have to be exactly like this. We'll just say it's like this, for example.
Right.
Let's say there's a lot of health to gain back, and the best way to do that in this game, right, is landing a heat engager, right? That's like the best way because that gives you a lot of health. I see that.
Right.
So sometimes you want to opt in to, instead of getting Wrath 1 4, if an opportunity, now this only comes with experience, by the way, and this only a very experienced random player will able to like capitalize on this very, very well. Otherwise, like most people will tend to just autopilot, which honestly is fine, but just knowing that this theory exists in general, right? This is what matters. But generally against like Wrath 1 3, so sorry, Wrath 1 and 3. This is all natural, and is able to give you that heat engager back. So that's another way of getting your health back. Also being a way to check people that are mashing on you, or rather maybe it's like stepping / static or whatever the case might be, because some people try to step afterwards, right? Because of the certain options being linear. So this is a common weakness that we see from as you can see right there, like a common response we can see from a healthy mix. If they try to like step us, they do have those options available to you.
Right.
So a common response that we can showcase from our end is Wrath 1, because Wrath 1 will cover that. See that?
Oh, okay.
So that's
Again,
why we want to go for Wrath 1.
I do get stepped often during those type of sequences.
Exactly. So you want to replace So if you're like, worried about stepping all the time,
Right.
you do either do two things, right? So you either do Wrath
Mhm.
1, like I mentioned.
Okay.
You can do that, or you do Wrath plus 4. Wrath
Mhm.
plus 4 will also cast on both sides. See that?
Okay.
So this is your main idea of catching people who are stepping to that side. Either go
Okay.
for that. Or one second.
Just making sure my audio is still on.
Came back, sorry.
Okay. All good.
But yeah. So generally against steppers, that's
Mhm.
what you want to go for. And not only that, it's also really good against people that tend to like punch parry a lot. So
Right.
because Wrath plus 4 comes out at a different timing, it's like 2 frames
Mhm.
a little bit. I guess I could say like 2 frames lower than Wrath 2.
Mhm.
Because of that gap, some people's punch parries when they come out at the same time. So see how that's beating up punch parry attempts, and the
Mhm.
same can also apply to Rain as well. So you go for Wrath 2, and that loses. You go for Wrath 1, that loses. See that?
Okay.
But when you place that with Wrath plus 4, that works.
There's actually a sequence I want to talk about this
Yeah.
sequence. So another common parry that happens to me. I have a player. It's a TGS June at my local,
Okay,
and
Sabaki. Yep.
he does the counter where she like does the is it Subaki or something like that? I don't know what the counter is called, but it counters bids and highs or something like that, and she like flips me or some
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. She has a regular parry. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure what that is, but does that also apply what we're talking about just now? Yeah, that
It
that.
does.
Mm-hmm.
It does because it's a similar timing thing.
Right.
So the thing with this though, like this is why it doesn't apply for June and Asuka because their
Yeah.
parry is a lot more active, right?
Right.
So because theirs is a lot more active, we gotta play around that a little bit more, and this is because they have unique parries, right?
Right.
So this is mainly referring to like I guess I could classify this as a different category because
Mm-hmm.
we call this as a reversal, not a parry, because
Right.
parry is like different. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's a very short window where it's like you have this little thing, but this is
Mm-hmm.
more of a reversal, so it has a much more active window.
Right.
So because it has a much more active window, like that doesn't really apply to them. So at that
Right.
point, if you want to have like a hard read on them, you just want to go for like an aerial born move because that's generally how you beat like. So generally, what the rule in this game is that if you have like a parry, unless you're like Leroy,
Okay.
because Leroy breaks this rule.
Yeah.
But generally, parries in this game tend to lose to airborne moves. So see that? So they can't parry plus 4/4, they can't parry hop either, and they can't parry grabs either, right? So that's generally what the counterplay looks like in this game for parries
Right.
/ reversals. And unless you're Leroy, because Leroy has a unique parry where his can break those rules,
Right.
um, generally the most part, that's what you do against them. So if you're worried about Wrath, I guess you could say like if you're worried about parry or / reversal from June,
Gotcha.
this is generally what I want to do. Just play around it. So you want to just play this out all the time. Or
Okay.
if you want to come into an option, you can either go for like down back four floor, which is it's not really worth going for to be honest with you. But if you want to go for like a quick low poke in, honestly, I only recommend going for Rat down back four. If they're like a poke with him dying. So like if they're a poke with him dying. So
Yeah.
let's say you're in this situation. So they're literally like this. They're about to die. Like you're now putting them in this last mix. They're about
Yeah.
to die. Just get that like you can need a low poke.
I
But that-
never use that move actually.
But the reason why this move is good actually is not good, but rather like it's still semi useful, even though it's
Yeah.
super risky.
Yeah.
Is that there's a small mind game off of it, right?
Right.
So even if they block the first hit, they still get a guess between you finishing the string or not
Yeah.
because of that big delay window. So
Mhm.
because this has a follow up as a mid,
Right.
see this little big delay window?
That crumbles, right?
It crumbles, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're near, actually, I'll show you some tech in a bit actually, because it's super important.
Okay.
But also, by the way, if you're like getting tired, we can just split up the session later because I know like there's a lot of information to convey here. So
I'm chilling right now. I don't really have much else to do right now. I have already
Gotcha.
got through most of my stuff. I will say I do need to take a quick restroom break. I'll be right back.
yeah, it's fine.
All right, cool. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Ba-ba-bum. Okie dokie. I'm back.
I was just gonna say I'm about to get a quick drink. Be right back.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
Okay. I'm back. All right.
Okay.
All right. So what we're talking about. I kind of lost my train of thought, to be honest.
We were
It's-
talking about. I'm trying to remember too. Give me 1 second.
Fine. I mean, we were talking about reversal up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, reversal options. June. I have a June that always does a reversal during my Heaven's Wrath. And my comment answer was kind of just wait. That was my comment answer, but I feel like there's some better answers, right?
Yeah. So I mean, yes and no. Because here's the thing about reversal-based characters and why they're so annoying.
Right.
Because there's just so many options they're able to represent that can stop us from enforcing our mix. So it becomes this back and forth meta of just you making the correct reads versus them taking that correct read of making a mix. You know, because they can either die by their mistakes if you bait it out correctly. So obviously, like if they go for like certain options here, so we'll just talk about the most common ones, right? They'll do like Sabaki. They might do like something like that, for example. Like, cause you know that's also a full launcher in their end. So if they, you know, if we go for this, and you know this is what the Sabaki looks like, by the way. In case you're curious. And this is what the reversal looks like. The reversal is like same idea here. The difference is that that doesn't really offer a launcher, but it does cover like both options. Whereas Sabakis are more limb specific, meaning that this is a punch Sabaki, meaning if I go for a kick move here, that doesn't work. See that? So limb specific Sabakis will only work for specific limits, so that's her punch Sabaki. Whereas if she goes for kick Sabaki, which is the same input, it's a similar input. Oh, not that. Sorry.
Sabaki means there's a parry built into an attack, and that attack will out prioritize moves such as a punch parry.
Does she not have a kick Sabaki? Huh. June doesn't have a kick Sabaki. Or maybe I'm just doing it wrong. Hold on. Well, at least Asuka does. No, I'm pretty sure maybe she's a different involvement. Oh no. Does he not have a? Huh. I never knew that. Huh. Don't worry now. Yeah. Okay, so I guess if it's Asuka, I guess I'll use Asuka in this case because they're both similar characters. Well, I guess in Asuka's case, she has two limb-specific Sabaki, so she has the kick Sabaki. Well, I guess Asuka has three Sabaki. She has a low Sabaki.
Right.
Mid Sabaki. Sorry, she has a low Sabaki, which carries any lows for a full launcher. She has the limb-specific ones where it's like if you do a punch attempt, she has a full launcher for that. Same thing with kicks. I guess in June's case, she has like only a punch Sabaki, but otherwise she's a reversal. I always assumed she had a kick Sabaki, but I guess actually maybe he does. Let me make sure. Let me double check here because I'm pretty sure she did have one. Let me just double check here.
All good.
Where is this?
Okay.
Okay, this is the reversal. This is that. Where is the Sabakis? That's the throw. Miyare, yes, Suzumu, that's all the stand stuff. Where is Sabaki? Hold on. Is this the... No, that's just unblockable. Okay. If it's not here, I'll just use Asuka as an example, just to...
That's fine.
Yeah, Yeah, it's just okay. She just has a punch parry. Okay, I did not know that. No, the more you know. So I'll replace this with Asuka then. So this is what Asuka's, because they're so similar, right? June and Asuka, they're so similar. So it's like,
Right.
I assume she also had a Kixabaki, but I guess not. Um, but this is like what Asuka looks like. It's like the same idea, where it's like they both have like cans, they both have factories and like whatnot. What is my game like 5 FPS right now? There we go. So let me do this. So this is what Asuka looks like. She has a Kixabaki, which is back 2+4. Punch Sabaki, which is 2+3. Same idea. But let's Sabaki as well. This is like this really slow move here. That's like
And
plus
Sabaki's
a million block.
Sabakis are just like a parry built into the attack.
It's a limb specific. It's a limb specific parry that gives a full launcher on success, pretty much.
Okay.
So this can be applied for Fang Sabakis because he has his own parry, which also gives him a full launcher.
Right.
Obviously here applies to Asuka as well, where she gets it correctly on your limb, she gets to get a full launcher off of it and be very safe on it. So like this is your own block, also full launcher on normal hit by the way. It's pretty powerful. But doesn't apply for her Kixabaki. But point is, like these are all the limb specific ones, and like I'll just do like a quick kick move for you to see what it looks like.
Okay.
So this will only work if I go for a kick move. See that? So this is why they're limb specific. So knowing like, I guess you could say that like knowing if they're going to go for a limb specific Sabaki can also open up the RPS meta for you. Is that you're able to go for other options. So let's say that they're like willing to showcase regular Sabaki. So the reason why they would ever go for like a Roma reversal, because this eliminates the idea of them guessing. But it also limits the reward. So it's like some of them might get more greedy. Some of them might just go for the panic duel anyway. So it's like depends. We can expect all sorts of panic moves. So going back to your main point. So against these specific characters and why like I'll go back to this chart right here. It was like some characters will go from having typical RPS mix to 50-50s. Right? Because this boils down into 50-50, which in that 50-50 also goes down into its own right of it's pretty funny. Like the 50-50 goes into two things. It's either I play around regular RPS, which this also goes into the 33 mix, right? Or I play around Tabaki attempts. So this is what I mean by like some characters, or I guess you could say like some characters will enforce this 50-50 where it's like it becomes a lot more difficult, and that's why matchups are important in this game. And why like it helps to know your options versus each character, and why you need to study up on all these matchups, right? Because all these matchups determine what your options look like, and in order for you to understand how to get around it, you need to understand why it's happening in the first place. And like for example, like let's say the reversal, right? Like, oh, why is my mid getting reversal here, right? Okay, so I guess pop quiz, right? We'll recap a little bit. Okay, you're up against a Asuka player. You do hell sweep. They're gonna showcase a reversal. What's your best option?
Reversal. Does area move count? Can I do if I'm in Heaven's Wrath? Can I do 3-4?
Correct. Exactly.
Right.
So that can be a good option. Or canceling it into nothing, right? Just baiting out the parry attempt and then playing around it. That's also a good option.
Okay.
So that's what it means. Like you boil down, you go from playing regular RPS to now playing 50-50s. And that's why like I guess you can say like a lot of people like complain about the current meta of the game because some people take that 50-50 and like turn it into this overtuned kind of method where it's like there's not much for you to do in terms of counterplay. Yoshi being one of them, like Flash, like just controls way too much.
Right.
For example. So it's like you end up running into these matchups where it's like there's only so much you're able to do.
Okay. Interesting.
So, in order to play around it, right, you need to understand what your options even look like.
Right.
So normally you want to go for Wrath 3-4 as your first option against Hell Sweep mix, right? Unless you're going for like pressure, right? But now, Wrath 3-4 became a priority because of the option they're representing, right?
Right.
So that's what adaptation sounds like, or rather, I guess, looks like.
Right.
So you can see how like a good player will be able to correct. I guess you could say like respond correctly on the spot because they're more experienced, right? They're able to apply the correct counterplay fast enough because they're more experienced.
Right.
Whereas, let's say that you're brand new, right?
Right.
You won't exactly know what to do as a first case response. So it's like you're used to like doing a certain flowchart,
Right.
and once that flowchart fumbles, you're like, what do I do now? Like you don't
Right.
exactly know what your other options look like, right? Or like why certain things might not work.
Right.
And this is why I was saying like knowing your options, like why certain things might work, what beats certain options, etc., etc. Like even
Right.
today when I was doing like viewer matches, like a lot of random I run into, like here I'll just bring up this prime example here real quick. I'll put it right in here as well.
Okay.
If you go back to the whole like punch parry thing, so
Right.
because we have a very similar parry, where like our parry is super strong, but it has
Right.
that small window, right?
Right.
So a common sequence you'll see from a random player, especially against like rat mix,
Right.
is like this right here, right? So this is probably
Mhm.
a thing that you'll probably see, especially if you ever play the mirror match, right?
Right.
You might see this a few times, and this happens a lot against like Hellsweep mix. So for example, Hellsweep mix, if I go for rat 2,
Mhm.
gets parried, right? See that?
Mhm.
If I go for rat 1, gets parried. See that?
Mhm.
Now if I mix that up with rat 3 plus 4, that now loses. See that?
Right.
This happens for specific parries like Reina's, Jin's, etc., etc. Those who have like a small window, not a very big one.
Mhm.
So because the timing is different between rat 3 plus 4 and rat 2, rat 1, that's why that works. So like if you're an experienced player, you know this. So like you know that timing is different, and you know that the player you're up against has that small frame window. So it's like you're able to apply that mix fast enough in your head, and it's like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, so if they're doing this, I'm able to do a rat 3 plus 4 here, and
Mhm.
so on, right?
Mhm.
This is how, in a nutshell, like I know I rambled a lot here, but it's like this
That's
is
fine.
how, in a nutshell, like how like matchups go, like
Okay.
why certain things will work,
Okay.
what works best for me, and what options. But you need to understand what the RPS initially looks like before you start exploring into the matchup specific things, right?
Okay.
So I guess a little note here, I guess you could say like little note here. It's like note like I guess as phase 1,
Yeah.
apply regular RPS, and then phase 2, MU specific. I guess you'd say like phase 2, like apply MU specific RPS slash 50/50s. RPS or 50/50s. We'll do that.
Mhm.
And this, I guess you say I'll put a little star in it. Just to keep. I guess you could say like it's like the most important aspect.
Mhm.
Because this is like this shit will take a while to learn.
Yeah. It's okay.
Pretty much. Like this is where like the game becomes very complicated because
Right.
you have your regular RPS, then you have the matchup specific ones, and like why like some people will just choose not to play certain matchups because they're
Mhm.
not able to apply certain mixes.
Right.
Whereas other characters, if they pick that character, they can just go back to their regular RPS and have a much easier time. So it's like
Mhm.
that's why like people like yell at me, especially when they're like talking about Reina. It's like they'll tell you like, yeah, I think just especially like if you looked at their like recent tournament run, like at BAM Lounge,
Yeah.
they went from Reina, they left that character against like certain characters, and they ended up going to Shaheen and Fang and whatnot, and they ended up getting way more success because their 50 pieces are way easier to apply,
Mhm.
and they see a lot more success in that way, and that's why like in this game like matchups are so important,
Yeah.
and why like sometimes you gotta just admit defeat against certain matchups.
Right.
Like if you really want to see how messed up this shit gets, I'll show you another prime example,
Sure.
and why this is sometimes stupid. And why like certain matchups, for example, Fang, why they're so horrible for us,
Okay.
is that on paper it's just physically hard to get your shit going sometimes.
Right.
And this is what this looks like. So you can jab here, right?
Mhm.
So let's go back to pop quiz meta, right?
Okay.
You're up against Fang, okay?
Okay.
You do your hell sweep mix, okay?
Right.
What are your options to beat jab checks? You do the hell sweep, you're +6.
Right.
What are your options to beat jab checks?
Jab checks. 1-2 Sensei 3.
No, that's in Sensei. I'm talking about Heaven's Wrath here.
Oh, Heaven's Wrath. Heaven's Wrath 2. Heaven's Wrath 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's correct, right? So because we're within that frame range, right?
Right.
You're thinking Wrath 1, Wrath 2, right?
Right.
Here's where this game gets annoying.
No boy.
All right. Wrath 1, right?
Gulp.
Supposed to be jabs.
Yeah.
Nervous gulp, right?
Yeah. Wait, what happened? Hold on, I wasn't looking.
A good thing. I'll save you. Maybe I shouldn't show you this.
You know what? Show me anyway. You already piqued my interest on this.
All right, here you go. All right, Wrath 1 or Wrath
Okay.
2 to be jabs, right?
Right? What? Is he?
Yep.
Is it because he's too far away?
It's because of his idle stats.
Oh my
So
god!
Fang's face is a little bit far away, meaning that
Because of his
if he
stance.
decides, because of
Yeah.
his stance. So if he decides to jab here after your Wrath mix,
That's insane.
so yeah, there are certain things in this game, and it's only against Fang, right? Only against Fang.
Okay.
No other character is doing this, by the way. It's only against Fang,
Okay.
and that's why some people will choose not to play certain characters in certain matchups because
Yeah.
you end up playing this overtuned mix-up of them being able to do multiple things. So imagine your Fang Wei, right? This is just a single jab. Sorry, this is like Wrath 1. So
Right.
normally Wrath 1 has multiple forms of counterplay, right?
Uh-huh.
You can either duck it, right? So I'll just show you right now. So I'll show you all the possible forms of counterplay that you're able to do. Just duck. Okay? You can either do that, either do backdash, right?
Mm-hmm.
Single backdash, right? So let me just do this again. Hold on. Do this. So this is what normal counterplay for Wrath 1 looks like. You can either backdash, which is fine. See that right there? Or just duck, which is fine, right? This is what the counterplay looks like, right? Let me do it again. Boom, boom. Backdash, right? Oh, well, I guess I didn't record it properly there, but the point is, you just do this right here. Just backdash, see that?
Right.
So that's generally what the counterplay looks like, but then you have certain characters like Fang, besides jabbing, having multiple ways to beat you with Wrath 1. So, back 1 from Fang also is evasive towards highs, meaning that, see how that's crushing her Wrath 1? So besides that being an available option for them, they also have, and you thought it ends there, but nope. They also have back Kempo. The most notorious stance, right? This little stance right here. So the thing about this stance is it's super evasive, meaning that if they this is typically what their response will look like. So you go for that happens, right? See that?
Right.
Another common response. Not just that. Let me buffer this correctly. Hold on. Well, I can't buffer correctly. I can't get my. Oh, okay. Hold on. I was doing the wrong input. Hold on.
That's okay.
Let's do. Yeah. Okay. Do this. There we go. Okay, so this is what backs. This is how many options Fang can do. Counter your simple Wrath 1. See all these options?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 different options Fang can do to counter your Wrath 1. So this is why Reina gets really difficult against certain characters.
Right.
Because of all these exploits that exist, right? But this is where some characters offer a lot of difficulty, and this is why certain matchups will be completely horrible for us because of how much shit someone can do to beat a certain sequence. See all these things? So this is 6 different methods of them being able to beat you. And this is just besides them doing this or just simply choosing to block, which is technically a 7th option, just do nothing.
Okay.
So it's either this. Actually, I didn't even factor in other options. I can also do this. Hold on. I can also, they're technically they can also do this as well. If they're like really crazy about it, right? But that's also an option. Like I can also do this. They can also do generic low, right? That's also an option. So that's again another option they could be able to do. This is why some characters will offer us a much harder time. That's 7, and I can still keep going if I really wanted to be honest with you.
That's so funny because another thing that a lot of people tell me, especially on my local and stuff like that, is that I am one of the only people in the local, or I'm one of the few, because there is some other people, that is a true one-trick pony. I only play Reina.
Okay.
I have not switched off Reina yet because other than any other characters that like kind of excite me to like learn shit. Yet at least I did a couple of combo challenges. The characters I'll probably be like interested in is like either Fang or Steve.
Right. This also could be fine.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I enjoy just like learning all the matchups with Reina because I know so much about Reina.
Exactly, and that's why it's super important as well. But this is what I mean by like why this game can be really hard at the highest level sometimes.
Yeah.
And remember, me showing you all this will not be typically what you run into. By the way, this will be stuff that you'll run into the higher you climb, and the higher you climb, the more experienced players you'll fight. The more experienced players you fight, the more counterplay you realize some characters offer. You know. So it's like because these things exist. This is why like it matters. And like personally, why like I personally struggle a lot against Fang because like we have like literally arguably the best Fang player in the world in 10 minutes down the street from me.
Really?
And I'm not kidding. Literally, this person like his name is Exodia.
Yeah.
Also sick name for a character, right? Like my man called himself like Exodia from Yu-Gi-Oh, so it's like bro.
Yeah.
So it's like lives 10 minutes down the street, and this guy messed up Joker in a mirror match. Has not lost a Fang mirror to anyone, and has won a lot of tournaments here and locally, and like even like overseas has taken out a lot of names. So it's like also sponsored by Team Falcons as well. So it's like
so he's with
has
Atif.
a lot going for him.
So he's like he's with
Atif.
Atif and Arslan now.
Exactly. Yeah. They're all teammates. Yeah.
Oh my.
So it's like it's 10 minutes down the street for me, and he's one of my good training partners.
Interesting.
So it's like when they have all these, when they showcase all these options to me, I just get a headache.
Gotcha.
Because it's like I gotta play around this option, or I gotta play around them. This is what I mean. But like sometimes when you overthink stuff, the best option is to just resort to doing nothing. So this is what I mean. But like instead of playing around Sabaki attempts, now you're going back to 50-50. You either go to regular RPS, which is going, it's like, I guess you could say like a little float chart. It's like I either go back. I'll have this be like called RPS, I guess. Like this is like RPS here. I'll just do this. Fuck it. Or we'll just do into this. So it's either. Let me do this real quick. There we go. Okay, so we'll go back to this. So it's like you either choose to play regular RPS and commit to this, and then choose to live or die by these options. Live or die by this. By regular RPS, or you can play it safe and play more specific, right? So like you can either go into nothing and bait. So let's call it that, whatever. That sounds like nothing else. I guess we'll just call it bait.
Right.
So we now gotta make this small 50-50 decision of either choosing to live or die by the RPS. Which still has options for us to do, but that's more specific. Or we can just start playing around options by canceling our sense, and a lot of sequences you'll see us do, like especially like the higher you climb, the more you realize that sometimes just going in for a mental mix by just going into Hell Sweep and doing nothing, right? Seeing how they respond, or like maybe fishing out for a potential like challenge attempt can allow you to get that reward at that point, right? So you don't have to always commit to an option, but in the same time, like it's a double-edged sword. So always not committing to an option also allows you to die faster, because you taking this risk and then not doing anything off of it will also let you die. So this is something that I personally struggle with a lot. Not personally struggle with a lot, but like rather something I run into sometimes is that whenever certain characters, for example Lily, Fang, or whatever the case might be. Whenever they do all these options that might break my initial RPS, and I can show you another option. For example, like Harong here, right?
Okay.
So I guess we'll go back to the drawing board, right? You do Hell Sweep, right?
Right.
The person you're up against is about they're gonna match a Heat Burst, which is a Power Crush, right?
Right.
How do you beat that?
Grabs, lows.
So you're thinking grab lows, okay?
Right.
That works, but you're risking a lot for the grab.
Yeah.
Because the grab normally is out of range, right?
Right.
So
good
like
point.
grab wouldn't be your best option here, right?
Right. Okay.
Um,
Having Wrath
so-
1 would work because it's fast.
Wrath 1. Right.
Wrath
and
1.
Wrath 1 tends to be power crushes, right?
Right.
Again, that's what typically the rules state
Mm-hmm.
until we run into specific characters
Right.
like Harong, where Wrath 1 will lose even though we have the correct read.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is a thing where it happens only in open space.
Right.
But see how like that's losing there, but at
Mhm.
the wall, because that small gap is no longer there, we don't have to
Right.
worry about that being a thing anymore.
Right.
So this is what I mean. But like some characters will have certain sequences that will beat us even though on paper it's supposed to work. So this is what I mean by like being willing to like I'm just showing you this now so that you understand what you're getting yourself into. Like
No, I
deep
get it.
down
I
the
get
line.
it. Because I still really want to be up there, like as one of the best randas in Texas. I want to start traveling around Texas to fight more people.
So it's like you see that, or you'll see maybe like this, for example. So like going back to the whole evasiveness thing, right?
Right.
So Feng had bad tempo. In Harong's case, he has this 4-3 stance here, which is pretty evasive, right?
Mhm.
But here's why it's annoying, because if we go for Wrath 1, it's just out of range. See that?
That's so
So-
dumb.
So it's like because this is a thing,
Yeah.
we now got to play this RPS meta,
Yeah.
which is the following: delay Wrath 1,
Right.
which is something we were able to capitalize on, or
Right.
cancel electric. See that?
Right.
So this is what I mean by playing around meta, and why sometimes you gotta get creative with it, and why like Arena's kit offers you enough creativity for you to be able to capitalize on certain things.
Okay.
So in this case, because we're able to go into wave dash off of Wrath, we're able to cancel our Wrath stance, and go into we'll just go into electric example. So we'll just do this, cancel electrics. It's pretty fast, but this is again why getting comfortable doing the Wrath cancel super fast will help you build better reactants.
Okay.
So notice my inputs, right?
Right.
Let me do this real quick. So I had to do a really quick cancel there. I did
Right.
it by doing a down forward and then crouch
Yeah.
cancel with up input.
Mhm.
Afterwards, I buffered electric. So it happens really quickly. I'll
Right.
do it again just for you to pay attention a little bit more. Because it happens really quickly.
Okay.
But see that?
Right.
I'm doing a CD42, which came out there. And then I canceled the stance by doing a down forward input, which I'm not sure if I can do this here. I wish I had like those
Like
things where I'm
like
able
a hand cam, like a hand cam,
Exactly.
or something like that. Yeah.
I'm not just hand out. I guess you can do my mouse, right?
Right.
So notice because here I did the tail sweep CD42, cancel
Okay.
the down forward,
Okay.
then I crouch cancel with the up input, and afterwards I buffer electric. See that?
Mhm.
So this is what I mean by getting comfortable doing all these wrath cancels is super super important, because this opens up these ideas of you being able to play all these counterplays. See this?
Mhm.
So that's why that's why it's super super important to have in your arsenal.
Right. Heaven's Wrath cancel. Gotcha.
Same thing applies with Fukuteki, because Fukuteki mix is the same cancel, so it's down forward back. And in
Right.
this case, you can do down forward back for wrath cancel here,
Right.
but because this is like more unique, because we're going for a crouch dash move here,
Right.
we can cancel with just down forward into up, because generally how you cancel, I guess you could say like how you cancel from your crouching status is by tapping up.
Mhm.
So like this applies for anything.
Mhm.
Also, I guess I'll cover this really, really quickly.
Okay.
So Reina's punch parry, right? Her little thing over here. Let me
Right.
just really quickly. Like this is also all within the same realm, but I'll cover this topic really, really quickly.
Okay.
So are you aware of how to get your reward off of this parry? Let me do this parry. So are you aware how to do this?
So okay, here's the thing about this parry, and this is probably like it's just a scrub thing. I mean, I haven't really been able to capitalize on this parry. It only gives you +10, which you can get 112 off of, right?
Right.
Every time I get this parry is always on accident, and I always accidentally do a down forward
Holding
one.
forward. Downward one's interesting though.
Yeah, I accidentally, it's like I gets buffered to something. Maybe I'm mashing or something like that, but it's just so weird. I don't know why it does that.
Yeah, it's because you're like, I think it's because you're like maybe looking for that jab afterwards, and I don't know, maybe you're
Yeah.
just missing footing or something.
Yeah.
But generally against this parry, right? It's
Right.
a really annoying input that you gotta practice, but this is
Mhm.
also like the reason why I mention this is because it applies to like how we cancel like our wave dash from Wrath. So whenever we're going from Energy stance into wave boost stance,
Okay.
and we say we want to cancel that, right? We gotta
Right.
cancel these both in a similar manner, where we both gotta tap up, right?
Mhm.
See that? So we're able to
Right.
cancel this by doing like a little tap up sequence here. So
Right.
I don't know. This is like pretty tactical, and honestly, I hope you're recording right now because this is a lot to remember.
I am recording, so that's another reason
good,
why I said kept going.
All good, all good.
Yeah.
Okay. So because of that, so because this is so important,
Mhm.
the reason why I bring this up is because the reason. So the only way for you to get this, and
Mhm.
honestly, I prefer just double tapping up. Or you can just time your up input, but if you mess that up, you can still mess up your at that point.
Right.
But generally, you want to just time your up input well, so you're able to get your 1-1-2 afterwards.
Mhm.
Some people like to do a double tap on the up input,
Mhm.
so it all depends on like how like comfortable you are doing this cancel. But it is
Mhm.
pretty complicated. So this is one of those advanced techniques, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
Whereas like it'll take time to get used to, especially when you're like just moving around. Because the thing about this parry, right? It also comes out from forward neutral, and it's
Mhm.
probably why you're getting it by accident a lot in neutral. Because like when you're
Yeah.
just doing like a forward neutral input, right? Maybe doing like a wave dash or maybe like a crash dash, right?
Right.
This is also how this move comes out. So because of this parry also being from forward neutral as well,
Right.
so that's probably why you're getting by accident.
Right.
But let's say you get it on purpose, right? Just getting
Right.
this cancel down is super important.
Right.
And like why like it can either make or break a lot of parry attempts. So
Right.
if you really want to be lazy about it though, you can just go for upward one.
Right.
This is really easy to do. You just gotta match it out, but pretty annoying. But it is possible. It's pretty annoying to get.
Right.
I don't know why I can't get it right now. There you go. So
Okay.
you can mash out upward one there, but you gotta be really quick on it.
Mhm. It doesn't seem
this-
it doesn't seem that consistent to do then.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
nothing I personally recommend. I think
Yeah.
personally just going for a crouch cancel 1-1-2 just the most reliable thing.
Right.
Because if you mess it up, you're still like -1 only, so you're fine.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that can happen here is that you get a CD1. This happens to me a lot personally. I get a CD1 there and end up dying for it.
I've died so many times for it.
Yeah, so you gotta just get careful doing this cancel a lot.
Okay.
But this is why it's important. So going back to that whole, I guess we'll cover. We'll just check out that box real quick of how to get the reward off of the parry there.
Okay.
But that's why that's important.
Right.
So we have that covered. So yeah, going back to our main point. So
Right.
all these cancels and why they're important because certain characters will offer these specific things,
Okay.
and this is where we venture off into this years-long journey of just improving in second.
Right.
Because we just constantly we're constantly, first of all, we're obviously adapting to the new meta because balance changes happen all the time, right? Like we get new mechanics, we get new
Right.
characters,
Right.
we also get new additions to our own kit, right? We get some nerfs, we get some changes, we get some buffs, so on, right? But putting that all aside, it's a matter of just being able to adapt to each matchup correctly, applying the right situations for the right answers at the right times, and like a lot of characters will offer some unique answers, while others you can maybe apply regular RPS against. And one of them being like, for example, like if I go this move real quick, I can say like against, for example, Brian. Brian can offer like regular RPS because he doesn't really have much evasiveness besides like Snake Eyes having a punch parry right in there.
Right.
That's maybe the only thing I gotta worry about. Claudio like not really having much to worry about. Dragunov only having like backswing blow, etc., etc. But it's
Right.
like the point is that most characters you're able to just flowchart your RPS against, and
Yeah.
why some people will complain about certain characters because some characters will delete their options. Like this is like a cool little thing, right? But like
Okay.
whenever you hear someone complain about a certain character, right?
Right.
Try to coincide their complaints with what character they play, because most of the time their complaints come from them not being able to run their regular RPS that they
Right.
would normally be able to autopilot
Right.
against that character, because that character will tend to offer a lot of challenges, right? And it's always funny because like Fang players will always, for example, Fang players always complain about Dragunov because Dragunov gives Fang players a hard time because they can't Fang players can't rush down Drag all the time.
Right.
Same thing with, for example, like Steve players. Steve players will complain about Asuka all the time because Asuka has a really good punch Sabaki, and she shuts down a lot of Steve stuff. So
Right.
a lot of the time, Steve players will complain about Asuka. So it's like, it's sort of like this funny little trend where it's like, most of the time, whenever someone complains about certain characters, most of the time it's like because yeah, they have a lot of BS that they're able to like stop them with, and sometimes that also offers recency bias. So for example, I hate Fang the most in this game because Fang offers me the most problems.
Right.
So it's
Gotcha.
like I will be more biased towards Fang hate, whereas some people might be more biased towards Jin hate, for example, because Jin offers them more problems too. So it's like
Right.
it's this never-ending cycle, you know?
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
So yeah, I guess we'll wrap things up here because we
Yeah.
did cover a lot today.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure you're feeling tired as well, so we'll probably cover it more in our I guess 11 p.m. for you, I guess, because that's like the where I'm able to like do it, like as the last resort, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Not a problem.
Yeah, so
Not
we'll
a
probably take a break for
problem.
now. But yeah, I'll probably wrap
Alright.
things like that here. Yeah, going back to the whole, I guess, little recap. I guess
Mm-hmm.
this is what regular RPS looks like, and what our logic should be like, and this
Right.
is why, like, I guess in your head, like, this should be like what you're ticking off in your head when it comes to just the idea of like getting information and like what checkbox you should be having, and like this is what your response should be like, right? So
Mhm.
obviously, besides like stuff like your forward 4, for example, like I'm gonna just leave this here. Some of the notes are empty, but I'm sure you can just fill it in yourself.
Yeah.
I guess
Got it.
let me actually fill in the health sweep, because that's actually pretty important, just in
Okay.
case you forget.
Not a problem.
Health sweep mix. If power crush rage art challenge rep 1. If that thing, I guess it's SF right. I guess I could say.
Yeah.
SF right. Wrath 1 slash Wrath 3 plus 4.
Mm-hmm.
If not Lily slash Lisa, because they can sidewalk Wrath 3 plus 4 to the left. Sorry, they can walk that shit.
Okay.
If respect, Wrath 3 4 for chip, pressure, and positioning.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not sure if I covered this real quick. I'll cover it really quickly. I guess I'll cover
Okay.
this real quickly.
Okay.
So when you're applying healthy mix, right?
Okay.
So if the case you're blocking, right? So in case you're blocking all the time,
Mm-hmm.
the moments where you want to apply Wrath 3 for pressure is moments like these, where it's like,
Mhm.
if you want to slowly fish for wall positioning, right? Because
Mhm.
one of the key things that we have as a strength. This will be our last point, by the way, because I don't want to like overwhelm your brain too much.
That's fine.
But this will be like our last point.
Okay.
So whenever you're just fishing for positioning, because remember
Right.
in our previous session where I talked about how important wall positioning is and why
Yes.
we want to maintain it whenever we can.
Yes.
This is another way for us to fish for it, right?
Okay.
So whenever we land for, I guess to quickly recap between like Sentai or Rat Stance,
Mhm.
whenever we land Sen 1+2, for example,
Mhm.
so we have two options. We have Sen 2 for max
Mhm.
damage, or we have Wrath 4/2/2 1+2.
Right.
So this does less damage than Wrath 2.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference is that sends them way more further towards the wall, right? So if we're
Right.
looking for better positional wars, that's where we can maybe sacrifice our damage so that we're able to get better positioning, right?
Right.
In a similar
Hmm.
sense, after Hell Sweep,
Right.
if they're just sitting there blocking all the time, we're able
Right.
to chip them out. So look at how much chip they're losing, first of all. They're
Yeah.
losing a lot of shit. They're losing a lot of shit damage there. But not just that, we're also able to re-enter loop sense at that point. So we're able to re-enter that rat sense again.
This is
by holding down.
sidesteppable at some point, right?
It's steppable at all times, but
At all times.
it's
Okay.
it's the idea of the mental mix. Because the moment
Okay.
you like start applying certain sequences, for example, like let's say that they block it the first time, right?
Right.
So if they block it the first time, then we have stuff like that, right? Before we'll stop them from stepping,
Right.
or we go for Wrath 1, right? Otherwise,
Right.
everything else can be steppable. So if they go for like Wrath 2, for example,
Right.
they can step it. See that?
Right.
Although this doesn't apply if you're doing Key Smash, because they can't step Wrath 2 at that point. I don't know
Mhm.
why, but just letting you know now. Like,
Mm.
even though they're both +8, this has different
Mhm.
situations on blocks. So, Wrath 4 here, Wrath 2 can get stepped. So generally, your options for steppers just Wrath 4 or
Mhm.
Wrath 1. Just keep that as simple as it can be.
Okay.
Or if you want to go for like home and grab as well, that's also an option you can go for. That as
Right.
well.
I go for that grab a
Um,
lot, actually. I love that grab.
It's I love that grab too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Wrath 4 generally can just get looped here.
Got it.
So most of the time, people will just end up like down jabbing as a result because Wrath 3-4 is pretty slow, right? So
Yeah.
people that will try to download you a lot after this is like another common response. And once you apply enough mental mix after that, just ending, you can do this thing where it's like, okay, I'll go for Wrath 3-4 once, I'll go for it again because I'm greedy. So you'll go for this, and then you'll go for it again. So after this is when you do the last brave check. So that's generally what it looks like. So it's just a mental mix of you keeping your timing different. So like you don't always have to commit to like, I guess you could say like a flowchart where it's like you're always going for the same option.
Yeah.
Staying unpredictable is super important as well. So
Right.
but yeah, that's why Wrath 4 can be pretty important because it lets you do all that.
Okay.
Other than that, not really much use for Wrath 4. It's mostly visibility at the wall as well because this lets you like shuts down their options to escape here as well. So I remember like me saying things earlier as well, like being able to cut off their forms of escape, meaning that even their exactly. So sometimes they can't step at all, right? So when you have those specific corners where they can't do much to really escape, right? Like at that point, like especially when they're in like a corner situation, that's like the worst position ever because they can't go anywhere at that point. Like they're just forced to stay there.
Right.
That's where like Wrath 4 pressure can be like loopable, and like sometimes you can get in their own head, so you can really abuse that. But yeah, keep thinking that in mind. But yeah, like understanding positioning helps you like better like choose your option from your Wrath mix, just so that you're able to like channel those things better. But yeah, that's like in a nutshell what that is.
Okay.
So yeah, Wrath 4 for steppers, Wrath 1 for steppers. This for mashers / mid checkers.
Yeah.
And remember, this is also different from certain situations. So running forward to Wrath is different. Waltzing 4-4 to Wrath is different.
Right.
Because this has a force crouch mind game where like if they're on 2P side, they can step Wrath 2. But if it's vice versa, Wrath 2 becomes a homing move. They cannot step this at all.
Okay. Wait. What,
so
hold on. Go back again. What was that again?
Sorry. I will be. It's okay. I'll just to briefly cover it before I go more in depth into it in our next session. So I'm saving this for our next session.
Okay.
So there's a lot to cover here, but just to briefly cover it, there's a lot of side specific things that we're able to abuse, depending on what side we're ending up on, right? And this only applies to offline play. I will not tell you to do this in online because in online there's a big issue where both players can play on certain sides, right? So you can be on player 1, the other person can be on player 1, and just to quickly note, there's a rule in second where like. If you're in a forced crouch position, right? You're not able to step to the camera side. So notice how I'm trying to side left right now, but I can't go there because I'm crouching, right? I can't go there. I'm only stuck here. Where if I want to go right side, I can be able to go there. I'm only able to side step left if I'm able to be in the standing status.
Right.
And this matters because where is Wrath 2 generally weak to, right? Wrath 2 is generally weak to the right side, right?
Right.
So because we're in a forced crouch position after stuff like waltzing 4-4, for example, we're able to cover our weak side at that point because their only form of movement here after a forced crouch position is going to left, and Wrath 2 tracks.
That's so funny. What? That works.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is why side matters in this game a lot, and like why side mind games are pretty important.
Interesting.
The same applies. The same thing applies for Reign of 4-4. So, for example, like this flowchart sequence, for example, is really weak on 1P side because on 1P side, almost everything can get stepped to the left, right?
Right.
So let me just do this real quick. So we'll do this down for 1. Sorry, this is sorry. Let me do this on the opposite actually. Because the camera is available to them, right? Because we're forcing them to crouching. But this is weak to side step left, right? So this is now really easy to step, right?
Right.
So almost all of our options here loses unless we go for like some specific ones, like down 4-2. But down 4-2 can also lose depending on the range. See that?
Right.
So like that's pretty important. So most of the time our key pokes like 1+2 can lose here. Down 4-1 can lose here. See that? So many of our key check tools can lose to side step left. But if we're in the opposite direction, where we know for a fact that we have them on this side. This now becomes an each check tool. They can't go anywhere because they can't sidewalk left. If they go to the right side, they force themselves to step into the side where the move tracks. See that?
Okay.
So like this is where like side mind games sort of apply a lot, and the same thing applies for specific punches. So stuff like holding 4-4 that forces crouch, and the same method applies. And I wanted to save this for the next session, but I just wanted to give you like a little tidbit of it now, I guess.
That's fine.
But yeah, that's why those type of things matter.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just generally what the healthy mix looks like, and different round situations have different mind games.
Okay.
And I will go more in depth into that next time. But just
Okay.
to like keep things brief, and I guess to wrap up things, we covered a lot today.
Yeah.
We'll just keep it like this for now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where we'll probably end it because we did cover a lot.
Yeah, it's okay. That was a pretty long session.
Yeah, no, I told you it's gonna be a long one, and there's
Yeah.
still more to come for you. Technically, I'm gonna be sleeping here in a bit though.
Yeah, you should get to sleep. I'll be going to work here in just like an hour.
Gotcha. But yeah, I mean, you can see how complex this character is.
Oh,
right now, like,
absolutely.
Yep. So it's like
I think-
you gotta know what you're signing up for.
Sometimes I think to myself that I low key like what's it called bottlenecked myself by choosing Reina as my first character for Tekken, because this is my first Tekken game, right? So like I had to learn.
You're choosing like one of the
I-
hardest characters the franchise ever had to offer.
I was just like, I was kind of like you when you first saw the reaction or saw the reveal of Reina, right? I saw her because I watched your reaction video. I saw her drag her opponent on the ground, and I was just like, oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that was my selling point because like a similar character in KOF by the name of Yamazaki. I'm not sure if you play KOF or not.
I know of it. I
I'll
know
just show
of
you
the
the video,
character.
might as well. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll just
sure.
show you like I'll just show you why I made this character. Let me
All right,
just pull that.
I'm gonna kill the record.